Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the stream. Oh, what a busy day. Oh, let me turn that down. There we go. Yeah, busy day. I didn't stream this morning. We had a furniture delivery and basically spent the better part of the late morning, early afternoon building furniture. And then I had to run out for an errand. Then I came home, got groceries, and then I came home and built some furniture. And I'm like, I need to stream. So, yep, Colorado hat. Got this when we were up in the mountains right after New Year's. We went up to the mountains and did some mountain tubing. But just a mood, Major Gaming Geek. Good to see you in chat. Got a couple of other people that pinged me over the weekend. They're like, "Are you streaming on Sunday? I want to come by and ask questions." So yeah, absolutely. So Sunday is all about job hunt, less about like the 3D printing and stuff like that. But um, yeah, I basically like tore down the whole like workbench and stuff that would normally be over on this back wall back over here. Tore it all down, painted the wall. So that wall, which used to be a really dark color, is now the same color as this wall. And this wall is only half painted, just as much as you can see. And then there's a curtain, and then the rest of that wall is not painted. And then it kind of like scoots around. And so I was showing kind of the 3D plan the other day of what I want that whole space to look like in the future. And yeah, it's just busy. This week is going to be really busy for me at work. I've got like 3 different live events that I got to do and be a part of, and so it's going to be busy. But I wanted to start off the week kind of helping people out. That kind of energizes me a little bit and gets me going. And so if there's anything I can do to help out, if you've got questions, if there's things that I can help you out with, let me know. And then I've got to add a few more things to my to-do list. But we actually were able to clean off a couple of things on the to-do list as well. So you can do !to do, and you'll see a list of all the stuff that I want to do. But yeah, by all means, start dropping questions if you've got questions about interview prep, career advancement, job hunting, company research, all that kind of stuff. I'll do my very best to help you out today. That's what I'm here for. So thanks for dropping by. It's always good to see familiar names in chat. So feel free to ask questions, and we'll go from there. I've got a couple things I need to check on. Got a notification for something. Oh, it's just a recap thing. Cool deal. Hey, Carmen, good to see you. Carmen, we got to get you on the stream sometime. And Danny and everybody else. It'd be good to get the old crew. Not that I want to like hijack what Jonan had, but I miss seeing you guys on live streams. I miss kind of hearing your perspectives and stuff like that. So, how do you continue the career advancement at your company when they're doing layoffs? That's a fantastic question. So, when a company does layoffs, typically what ends up happening is the people that stay end up doing even more work because the company's like, all right, well, these people are gone. So now everybody's got to like up their game a little bit. And that's a good way to advance what you're doing within the job. And so we've all heard, I mean, if you've been paying attention to like career news and things like that over the past year or two, there was this whole notion called quiet quitting. And the idea of quiet quitting is that you're going to kind of take a step back from like overworking and you're just going to do like the bare minimum. And unfortunately, I've got a feeling that a lot of the people that were the bare minimum people were the ones that got laid off. But I think that the people that are remaining at a company after a layoff happens, there's a new phrase out there called quiet hiring or quiet promotions. And basically, what they're doing is the company is expecting you to do more. They want you to step up. They want you to take on more responsibility. They want you to do more things, and that's a great opportunity to say, more than happy to do that. Let's talk negotiations. Like, if you want me to take on additional responsibility because these other people left, like, I'm going to be doing more work. I would like to see some kind of pay bump to go with it. Maybe not a title, but you know, if you're expecting more out of me, like more output than what I've been giving, I need some kind of compensation for that. So be sure to have that conversation with them. Don't just say like, "Oh yeah, okay, you want me to do this extra work? I'll take on like 5 extra projects and, you know, other things." Like, Don't give your time away for free. If they're asking you to do more, they need to step up and compensate you for that. So have that conversation with them. Start with your manager, and if they come to you and say, hey, we want you to take on more work, or you have to take on more work, just say, cool, I've already got a pretty full load. Like, what can we do about compensation? Or can I remove some of my other responsibilities to take on these new responsibilities? Like, can we shift priorities around a little bit? Because if they just expect you to go from 8 or 9 hours a day to suddenly 11, 12 hours a day, that's not good. You're going to burn out. And so I think companies realize that in the short term, they're going to need to ask their employees to take on a little bit more effort. But in the long term, they do need to hire people so that, everyone's kind of here and a bunch of people leave the company. So these people have to step up, but that's going to burn them out. They need to come back down to here. In order to get them back down to here, this extra chunk of work has to be taken on by somebody new coming on. So I have a feeling that what companies are doing with these layoffs is they're getting rid of their underperformers. And we already heard that from companies like Twitter and Amazon, that the people that they were letting go were their underperformers. Now I think companies are going to be much more picky about who they hire because they want the overperformers to come in and sort of balance things out. So I think that's how I would approach the career advancement. Is if they're asking you to take on more, they should be paying you a little bit more. Maybe not drastically more, like 10, 20% more, but because part of the reason that they did layoffs is to kind of relieve that salary that they were paying all these other people. But if you're having to take on more responsibility because of that, you should be getting some of that salary. That's my thought. Let's go over to Twisted Mood. I find myself in an interesting situation. I have the opportunity to possibly be the main developer for Salesforce for my institution. I'm worried that I don't know enough, but I want to make sure that I impress the people who need to be impressed. I look at all the stuff that I need to learn and my heart sinks. I think I need to know all of this, but I don't think it's true. It's just what my mind tells me. What are your recommendations for handling this? The first thing is naming it as imposter syndrome. It's exactly the definition of this. If I think I'm not good enough, I think I need to go learn more so that I can be perfect at it as soon as I start. Anytime you start something new, you're not going to be good at it, right? I could go pick up my kid's banjo right now and try to play it, and I'm going to be horrible at it until I learn some things and take some lessons or, something like that and practice. That's how I'm going to get better. So I think what you can do to impress the people that need to be impressed is just say, I'm going to take this on. I know this much. There's a whole lot more to learn. I'm going to dive right into this thing, and I'm going to be the in-house sort of expert on this stuff. But you need to have that conversation with your manager as well, that you're also not burning out, trying to overwork yourself to get to that point where you feel like you're the expert. So what I would do is I would talk to your manager and say, I'm taking on the Salesforce stuff, or you want me to step up and take on the Salesforce stuff. I'm going to need some training. I'm going to need some time to ramp up. I'm not just immediately going to be good at Salesforce. I need time. I'm going to make mistakes. That's part of learning. It's part of development. Just make sure that you're doing what you can to test your code before deploying it to production to alleviate as much of that as possible. So that's what I would do there. And so yeah, I think the first thing here is you're straight up talking imposter syndrome with what you just said. Wanting to impress people is okay, but I think for me, I do better with intrinsic motivation, which is I feel good about myself. I don't need other people to make me feel good. Because other people can pat me on the back all day long. If I know I didn't do a good job, nothing they say matters to me. They can pat me on the back, high five me, whatever. And inside, I'm just like, nah, that was garbage. And that's just my own way of thinking about it, because that's imposter syndrome. I deal with it too. So the only way that you're going to get better at that is to prove to yourself that you can get better at that. And that's going to take incremental steps, or what we might call baby steps. Learn a little bit, practice it, implement it, learn a little bit, practice it, implement it. It's that loop. So that's how I would approach that. Don't try to cram everything in a week and expect that you're going to be a Salesforce expert. Not going to happen. My recommendation is pace yourself, figure out what you must know and what you want to know, because those two things are going to be different. What does the company need you to know? That's where your focus needs to be. Then are there other things that you want to know just to be better at it. You can do that in your off time, off hours. If you got a little bit of downtime, go explore some of that. But there are going to be things that the company needs you to know. They need to be patient with you, and you need to have a conversation with them and say, I need time to learn this stuff. Like, I know a little bit, but I need time to learn more about what the company needs me to do. And so I need a week or two or a month, and I'm going to like incrementally get better at this. That I think is going to impress them, because you're taking a very mature approach instead of walking in the room, saying, I know everything about Salesforce. And then they ask you to do a thing and you're like, oh, wait, I don't know how to do that. That's a whole lot less impressive than being methodical and say, I've got a plan. This is the plan. This is the timeline. Watch me execute on this plan. That's going to be way more impressive to them. So that would be my recommendation there. Carmen's asking, when is it okay, or when is it time to say, okay, yes, give me more money and promote me? And when is it time to look elsewhere? Ooh, that's a great question, Carmen. So my first take on that is, do you want to stay where you are? If you walk into your boss's office and say, hey, I'm taking on more responsibility, or I'd like a promotion here, I want to stay at this company for a long time. Can we talk about a promotion? Can we talk about a raise? What would the timeline of that be? Like, to just walk in and say, I want a raise, I want a promotion, you're going to kind of catch them off guard a little bit, and they've got to go figure out budget and all that stuff. So what you need to do is start having a conversation with your boss and say, I'd like to meet with you in a month to have a conversation about a promotion and a raise. I've been here this long. These are things that I've been a part of. I'd like to have that conversation in a month where we can talk about all the different things and the impact that I've had and how I can continue to make an impact at the company. That gives them a month to go figure out, can we give you a promotion? How much of a raise can we give you? And then when you have that meeting, then they can say, okay, this is the plan. Then in that meeting, you want to sit down with them and say, what's the timeline? Like, if they're like, okay, we're going to work towards a promotion. We need you to learn a couple of other things. We need you to be involved in like one or two other projects. Maybe they've got some sort of like milestone of what they want you to know or what they expect you to know before they can promote you into that position. And so you can work out with them in that meeting a month from now, what's the timeline to get there? I want to get there. This is that's my next trajectory. How do I get there? How long is it going to take to get there? And then work out that milestone timeline with your manager and say, okay, let's check in every month. If it's going to take me 4 months to 6 months to get there, what can I do every month? How can we check in every month to make sure that that's still on track, so that 4 months from now or 6 months from now, like all our ducks are in a row for me to get that promotion. But it starts with good conversation. Now, if you decide you don't want to stay at that company, then that's when you start looking elsewhere. But don't quit your job first and then go look for another job. Start interviewing, start prepping your resume, start collecting stats on what you've done and the impact that you've had. Start benchmarking your code so that you can write those things down on your resume. Like, I rewrote, 3 modules of our code, resulting in 20% faster execution. That looks way better on a resume than I refactored a bunch of code. Being like quantifiable about that looks much, much more impressive on a resume. And you can collect those stats while you're still at the job. But if you quit the job, you lose access to all that. So I would start collecting those stats if you don't want to stay. I would actually collect those stats either way, because I think it's a good idea to keep your resume up to date no matter what. I was chatting with someone on Twitter recently about, I lost my job and now I've got to try to remember how to write a resume. It's like, yeah, waiting until you leave your job to write the resume is the wrong time to write the resume. You need to write the resume while you're at the job, so that all the stuff that's fresh in your mind on, I was a part of this, I was on a part of this, I was a part of this, this is the impact that I had, this is how I improved things. It's going to help you write your resume. So if you do lose your job, or if you decide to leave your job, you already have that resume ready to go, and you don't have to spend a week or two scratching your noggin over, what did I do at that job? What were all the things that I did? Like, when I left SendGrid, I forgot half of the things that I did in my 4 years at SendGrid. It wasn't until I was going through like a bunch of old documents, I actually found a resume I had to make for applying for another job within SendGrid. They wanted me to make a resume. And I was joking with HR. I'm like, my resume is just going to be like, I've been working here for 4 years. Like, just let me have that role. They're like, no, you have to like write down your impact and whatever. I'm like, what a bunch of baloney to jump through these hoops and have to apply for that job internally. Like, but I had written up a resume of these are all the projects that I'd done. And it was a 1-page resume of just what I had done at SendGrid. Well, I found that old resume way after the fact. And I'm like, oh man, I forgot like half of this stuff. And it wasn't on my resume that I was actually using a year ago on my job hunt. And I'm like, I need to get this stuff on my resume because it was all quantified and it was all stats, like full of stats and whatever. So I put that on my big form resume. So that's how I would make that decision, Carmen. I hope that helps. Is figure out, do I see myself being here in another year or two? If you're looking for a promotion, do I want to be here 2 or 3 years from now? If you just want a raise, then ask yourself, do I want to be here in a year? If you want a promotion, do I want to be here in 2 years or 3 years? That's how you're going to make that decision. And if you decide like, nah, I don't see myself being here 2 or 3 years, you can still ask for the raise. But if you're like, I don't even see myself being here for another year, then you need to start looking for a job. You need to start your prep work. You need to start, unfortunately, LeetCode and all that kind of stuff, because I think with all the layoffs, and I've said this for the last couple of streams, with all the layoffs, I think we're going to see a whole lot more companies leaning on LeetCode as opposed to getting away from LeetCode because they want the best of the best. And they know that all these FANG employees just got laid off. And so they're going to be giving out, I think, more LeetCode style problems in order to get a job. So something to think about there. Hey Westry, good to see you. Thanks for dropping by. Westry, that filament came in, so thank you for that. They sent the green and silver, the silk green and chrome, the jadeite. So I'm gonna try that a little later. My whole workshop is completely torn down right now. I have 2 working printers, but they're buried in stuff. Like I can't even get to those printers right now because I tore out the whole workbench with the bamboos. The bamboos are going to go on this workbench behind me, but I've got to like tear down this whole desk because I want to put this arm of the desk on this side of the desk instead. So I got to tear the whole thing apart and move the legs, the whole bit, and then it's going to be a chore for sure. And then the workbench that was back here is now over here. That's going to hold the eventual Voron. And then my Mark IIIs, which are over, behind a cabinet over here, they're going to be like right here in the middle of the floor where I'm kind of sitting right now. So I'm rebuilding this whole workshop. I'm going from about 150 square feet of usable space to about 400 square feet of usable space. I decided I was going to like creep into my own basement a little bit. So, but yeah, so once everything's back up and running, I expect I'm probably not going to get into any more 3D printing until at least the weekend. But yeah, that co-extrusion is going to be one of the first things I want to do, but I want to do it on the Mark III. So, cool. Let me follow up here. Twisted Mood followed up, and this was about the Salesforce. Since I'll be the only dev, how do I make sure I set myself up for success for not being a developer professionally before? For example, where can I learn about setting up stuff on my environment? So if a team joins, I won't be failing at doing things like that. That's part of a team. A team is not you come in and you do what I do. A team is you come in and you help make me better. I'm going to help make you better. And then when we hire a third person, they're going to make us each incrementally better. And so teamwork is all about how do you do your environment? This is how I do mine. How do you do yours? So it's going to be a collaborative effort there. One of the things that I like using a lot for setting up environments, let me go get a link for you real quick. Well, actually, I should ask this question. Are you on a Mac or are you on a PC? So let me know, Twisted Mood, let me know if you develop on a Mac or if you develop on a PC. Because I follow it, like I use a script to set up everything. So you're on a PC for work, okay. So this script won't work for you. I'm going to put it in chat anyway. I think it'll give you some ideas. So a company called Thoughtbot put this environment builder together, and it works brilliantly on a Mac. There may be, no, you don't want them to use your MacBook. Don't do that. Don't ask them if it's okay for you to use your MacBook, because then they may want to monitor everything you do, and everything on that may belong to them. So you want to keep those things completely separate. Don't mix the two. But you may be able to modify some of this stuff. So this uses Homebrew to set up, database and programming tools and programming languages, all this kind of stuff. And it just goes and it downloads and installs all this. But it uses a tool called Homebrew, and there is a Windows equivalent for Homebrew. And so you might be able to like modify this script a little bit if you can sort of read through what the shell script is doing. But it's really just go out to Homebrew and download Postgres, go to Homebrew and download Node.js, go download this, go download Redis, go download such and all these different tools. You can probably just say, okay, I'm just going to like take this list of tools and I'm just going to go figure out how to download the things myself. And then from there, if they bring other people on the team, then you can ask them like, hey, how do you do your environment? This is how I did mine, whether you're happy with it or not. But if you're the only dev and then they hire someone else later on with experience, it's going to be a lot harder to convince them to do things your way when you're kind of like piecemealing things together. And you may want to rely more on what they do. It may down the road turn into, hey, let me just wipe my system and start all over again. Maybe not complete wipe, but like, let me start reinstalling all these tools all over again. So that might be something to do. Let me back up in chat here. Major Gaming Geek says you should collect all those stats and communicate them in your current role during review time. Absolutely, yeah. And so when you're going for that promotion in a month, you want all those stats. You want to walk in with sort of ammunition of why they should be promoting you. You can't just walk in and go, I think I want a promotion. I think I deserve a promotion. They're going to say, well, why do you deserve a promotion? Like, convince me. How are you going to convince me to give you that promotion? You're going to convince them by walking in and say, this is what I did. This was the impact. This is what I did. This is the impact. This is what I did. This was the impact. It's going to be a lot harder for them to dispute. Like, oh yeah, okay. So yeah, walking into that meeting for a promotion or a raise, anything like that, you always want to bring that list. I'm actually compiling that list for myself right now for the last year of Postman because my 1-year anniversary is coming up, and I want to hit up my team lead and say, it's raise time. My anniversary is actually on the 31st, so I'm actually running out of time. But we have a check-in every week. So my check-in tomorrow is going to say, hey, can we have a meeting in a month, either with him or with his manager about what's it going to take to get a promotion. So, or not a promotion, but a raise at least. So, hey, Jen, good to see Jen in chat as well. Yeah, happy almost 1 year. Yeah, it's been a fun year. It's been a busy year. I've got 4 conference talks lined up already by the end of March. And so I got to, I was supposed to book my travel today. So I got to do that. And I got like 3 live events going on this week. It's going to be a busy week, but yeah, I got to get that travel booked for sure. I'm going to Detroit and I'm doing 1 virtually. I'm going to San Jose and then a week later back to San Francisco. Yeah, that's the 4. Actually, one of them is a meetup right now. Carmen says, expand on the job hunt prep work. So for the job hunt, if you're going to prep for the job hunt, a couple of things I would do. I would start working on some LeetCode stuff in rotation. I've got some YouTube videos on that, if that'll show up in chat. Yeah, so you can go check that link. That'll give you some ideas of how I do LeetCode sort of smarter instead of just grinding problem after problem after problem after problem after problem. There's a couple of links on there where you can say, I want to go practice depth first search. Let me go find those on LeetCode. And if you get stuck, you can go look at other people's code. And so the second video on there goes through more of a step-by-step on how to turn someone else's code into pseudocode to kind of understand how that particular algorithm works. And then you start to kind of learn like how those algorithms work, because that's what's going to help you in the real interview. And so I would start on LeetCode stuff. It's a given. If you are going to change jobs, you're very likely going to face some kind of LeetCode thing. It sucks, but it's our reality. Like I said, with all the layoffs, I think companies are going to be more reliant on LeetCode than getting away from LeetCode. The other job prep is trying to figure out where do you want to work? What jobs are out there? Who's hiring? Who's hiring for people with your level of experience? What kind of experience do you have? What do you want to be doing? That's an even more important question, not just who's hiring, but what do I want to be doing? And then start researching those companies, start networking with those companies, get introductions. Um, I don't have the intro thing on here. If you do, I think it's exclamation point intro or intros plural. You'll see a GitHub, uh, or they call it a GitHub gist that I wrote on how to network through my LinkedIn connection to go see who I can introduce you to. Hey, Triker, thanks for the follow. Um, Not sure exactly how to pronounce your name, so I'm just going to call you Triker if that's okay. But yeah, thanks for dropping by. Um, so yeah, it's going to be like company research, networking with people at those companies, because networking is going to get you a job way faster than just blasting resumes out there. Like blasting resumes, it becomes a numbers game. But when you're doing networking, it's less of a numbers game. It's more personal. You have somebody that can introduce you, um, and name drop you to their boss, and that's going to get you into the interviews much faster. And I mean, it's still up to you to pass those interviews, but you may find that by getting referrals from people, they may skip steps of the interview. Um, and that's going to come from doing the research and talking to people about what does your company actually care about, what kinds of technologies is your company actually using, um, whether or not. So Carmen, you've been in the job now for a little while, so you may not need to worry so much about side projects. But if you want to, if you find a job with a company who's using a technology that you don't yet know, then you could still go start like just a small project or add something onto a project using that technology, like add it onto an existing project if you can, unless it's in a different programming language, then you don't have a choice. You kind of have to start a new project, but show them that you've got some of the fundamentals of that other technology down, so that when you do apply for that job, you can say, hey, I've got a background in this tech stack. I know that your company's using this tech stack instead. And so I've actually spent a little while learning that technology stack just so I can kind of hit the ground running a little bit faster, if I come work here. So, Jen's asking, can I share a post I wrote about job hunting? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, feel free to drop that in. I don't restrict URLs in there, so feel free to share that with everybody. Jen says, I have View Nation this week. You're emceeing and gave your first conference talk last week. Good for you, Jen. Good job. Pardon me for my awkward interview. You should never have to apologize. That's that's one thing I would say. You shouldn't have to apologize for that. Just looking back on chat, Carmen's recommending contribute to open source and see how other folks create environments. That's a good way of doing it too. Yep. Or create an open source project and become a maintainer. But creating it, you're going to get a lot of people going, why did you do it this way? And so it would probably be easier to start with someone else's open source project and see how they set up the environment and things like that to build that project, um, and then go from there. I think a lot more, like, I'm starting to see way more open source things with Docker containers or some sort of containerization, just to make that environment stuff a lot easier to manage. Um, not all of them, but I think that there are a chunk of them that it's going to make that a little bit easier. Just seeing if I missed anything else in chat. Westry says, I totally get it. My office is in pieces. I'm redoing it. Plus, I'm thinking about getting a secondhand Prusa Mini and using the Tycoon Slim for streaming. That's cool. Getting rid of the others? All right. Oh, it's a pun? Okay, I got you. Whoa, dude says, I was chatting with some people about job hunting. You'll never guess whose stream they recommended. No idea. Hopefully mine, but I don't know. So Carmen, who's in chat, Carmen used to do a stream. I want to say like every week or every other week with this guy named Jonan in Oregon, and it was a whole bunch of them would get together and they would talk job hunt stuff, and they would talk just, how does a CPU work? How does memory work? How does this or that work? And Jonan would go into like full tech mode and get the iPad and like sketch things. It was a great stream to log into. I really miss you guys streaming. So looking forward to seeing that maybe someday. Actually, Carmen, weren't you and Jen streaming for a little while? Are you still streaming? Go yell at Jonan. I actually haven't heard anything from Jonan in several months, many, many, many months. I want to say at least 6 or 7 months. I don't even think I've seen him like do anything online. I have no idea what he's up to. Um, I will make a mental note to reach out at some point because yeah, I think it'd be great. And yeah, Carmen Jen has people come on her stream called Teach Jen Tech, and yeah, it's fun. I was on there once, I think, but it's also a good opportunity to kind of like work through some things as well. We're streaming for Oktoberfest. That's right. Maintaining for open source, but then life happened. Yep, as it happens. Just a mood. Thanks for answering my questions. Anytime. More than happy to share my perspectives on things as a hiring manager and having been an engineer for a long time and having to learn those things. I also had to learn a little bit of Salesforce at a previous job, but that was over a decade ago. So it was like a really old version of Salesforce and their database and stuff. But I've been there. I've been in a position where it's like I've got to go learn something in a hurry, and I'm going to be looked at as kind of the expert on this. So gosh, I better be good at it. And my imposter syndrome just flares up. So um, yeah, I'd say be gentle on yourself. Give yourself some time and space and grace to like go learn the thing. And like I said, I think it'll be more impressive for them just to see your progress than to walk in and say, I'm amazing at this, and then realize you're not. So, um, cool. Oh, Carmen, I added a new command. You can do exclamation point pew pew, PEW, PEW. I've got a little Lego kit behind me here that'll actually like light up and blink when you do pew pew. They're like little TIE fighters shooting at an X-wing fighter. There you go. Is it gonna work? Is it gonna work? Oh no! Oh no! It didn't. It didn't work. Oh, you know work. All right, we'll give it a minute for the API to reconnect. All right, let's try the pew pew command again. Let's see if that'll work. Oh, I don't see the little heartbeat. Yeah, I do kind of see the little heartbeat back there. Somebody else want to try the pew pew command? Hopefully it'll work. Wait, did it work? Did I miss it? It still didn't work. What the heck? My bot not working? Streamer bot's on. Yeah, it should have. Is it streamer bot that's not working? Oh, streamer bot logged me out of Twitch. Silly streamer bot. There we go. All right. It's dorky, but I get such a kick out of it when I see the lights, happen from that. Once I kind of rebuild the workshop, I'm gonna put a camera on those things because the BD1 robot, the little white robot here, I've got a light kit for that one to install as well, and I'm gonna do the same thing with the Raspberry Pi and put that on there. So the API, you'll be able to do like exclamation point BD1 or something, and you'll see the lights light up and blink or something. I don't know. I haven't figured out yet what that's going to do, but we'll get some like droid bells and whistles and stuff in there. That's typically what I'm doing like on Thursday night streams now, is like getting into the maker stuff. But I don't know if I'm going to stream this week, to be honest, because it's going to be a really busy, hectic week, and I've got tons of stuff to do down here in the workshop. And since it's not interview stuff, I may or may not stream. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. If you want me to stream, you need to convince me. Every time I see cool 3D prints, makes me think of all the dope stuff I make. Yeah, thanks. So I made these. So I actually did a live stream last Thursday for work, where we were finding an API to live stream my printers, and so I was 3D printing these little guys during that live stream, and so these actually got and I was actually picking people for giveaways while I was doing that live stream. So I got to get these packaged up and mailed out at some point. Not enough hours in the day. Somebody needs to invent more hours in the day. You still want one? Well, we'll figure that out. Oh, actually, Jen, if you want one, how good are you at painting? Are you any good at painting? Because I have some blanks that you can actually paint. So if you want to do like dark colors like blacks and silvers and dark browns and things like that, or if you want to do like whites and oranges and whatever, I've got one of these blanks, and I'll just bring one of these to the next meetup if you want. So if you want to paint one, let me know if you want the dark or the light one, and I'll bring you one. Just duplicate myself? Yeah. I'll just go out. I mean, is Amazon selling those cloning machines yet? And if they have a cloning machine on Amazon, I'll consider it. You want a dark one? Okay. Jen, send me a message on Discord to remind me, and I'll like write your name on the bottom of it so I don't give it away or something. Speaking of giveaways, I'm like this close to having 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. When I hit 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, I'm going to do some kind of giveaway. That some kind of giveaway is probably going to be that treasure chest that I 3D printed that I posted on Twitter. And so this is an 8-color 3D printed chest, and it's large, and it weighs about a pound. And the person that designed it actually designed little trays to go inside it now, so you can get like little sorting trays. But it printed all in one piece like this, and it kind of prints with the hinge inside. And so when it's finished printing, you just pull it off the print bed, and it just closes on its own. There's nothing to attach, nothing comes apart. So I'm probably going to give this away when I hit 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. So if you're not subscribed to me on YouTube, why not? And tell your friends. Tell your friends to subscribe on YouTube as well. When I hit 1,000, I'll give that thing away. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. It took like 4.5 days to print that. The slicer, the printer software said it was only going to take about 3 days, but with all the color changes, that takes time and whatever. I need to optimize the color changing stuff a little bit more to speed that up. So good times, good times. So yeah, so as far as job hunt stuff, if anybody wants ideas on how to do company research or how to do networking, I'm also happy to show how to find other people at companies based on who you already network with. So if you want, I'll pop over to a browser and I'll show you my LinkedIn and show you how I might go figure out like, hey, does Jen know anybody at this company? And then ask Jen for a recommendation or an introduction or something. That's basically what the intros, the exclamation point intros command does, is it gives you a list of instructions on it. But if you want a demo, I'll just demo that. How do you write nice things about yourself? I'm actually really tempted to go try ChatGPT and see like, hey, ChatGPT, what do you know about Ian Douglas, the developer from Colorado? And see if it says anything about me. I don't know. I've actually never used ChatGPT, but I think that would be an interesting way of doing it. Sent a friend request last week on LinkedIn. I think I got that, Major Gamer Geek. Actually, you followed me on Twitter. I think I followed you back on Twitter. Zooey in the house. What's going on, Zooey? Haven't seen Zooey in a minute. Let's woo. All right, little anticlimactic, but thanks for dropping by, Zooey. Haven't seen you in chat in a long time. Happy New Year to you. Hope you're doing well. You tried that. It doesn't know who I am. Okay, cool. How's it going? It's going good. It's gonna be a busy week this week. I normally would have streamed Sunday morning, but today it was a busy day, and food prep and groceries and all that stuff. So I'm like, it's 7 o'clock. I need to stream. I got to do a mock interview at 10, and I've still got like furniture and like rebuild my basement a little bit. So I just built another cabinet for my filament. I got to figure out how to get the doors on it. I'll probably do the doors later. And I just need to like put the filament on the shelf right now. And then part of me wants to do like a shelf of red, a shelf of orange, a shelf of yellow, and do like rainbow colors, and then like shelves of like all the dark ones and whatever. But I also need to separate them by which ones will work on the Bambu printers and which ones will not. So I thought, well, I've got other evening time to spend on that, so I'm just going to do a job hunt sort of stream and help people out, because a bunch of people reached out over the weekend, not just Carmen, saying like, hey, are you streaming, because I could really use some help and advice. So happy to be here, happy to help people out. So yeah, if you got other questions, absolutely drop them in chat. I'm going to stream for a little bit tonight. Hey Whip, good to see you as well. There we go. I'm sorry I don't have information about a specific person named Jen. Could you provide more context about who she is? All right. You've been waiting since 10. I'm sorry. Yeah, just so IKEA showed up here at like 10:30, dropped off a bunch of stuff, and then my kids immediately wanted to like build the bookcases for their rooms. So I had to help them with that. By the time that finished, it was like 1:30. And then I was supposed to go to a guy's place and pick up a 3D printer, but he had something between 2 and 3, and he pinged me and he's like, "Hey, that 2 to 3 thing got moved from 4 to 5, so if you're coming over, you need to come over like right now." Got to his place, the printer wasn't ready. I'm like, "Why did I drive all the way out there?" Um, but he made really good progress on it. So that Voron printer, it's like a really big printer. It's almost ready to go. He thinks it's going to be ready by Tuesday, but this week is going to be so busy. I just realized, like, I'm like, cool, Tuesday. And then I realized, like, wait, I can't. I have to teach a class like early Wednesday. Like, there's no way I can do that. So your schedule said 10 and I followed documentation. Ouch. Yeah, one of the things I want to do is I want to automate a little bit better about my live streaming and when I'm going to live stream and what the topic is going to be, and have it like send out tweets and things like that ahead of time. Especially when I'm going to have a guest on the stream, and start doing like a little bit of the promotion type of stuff. I'm just not very good at putting those graphics together. I know that there are tools out there that'll, let you arrange like headshots and put banners out and stuff like that. I'm just not very good at using those tools. So, am I helping them or am I buying it? So I bought the parts, I assembled most of it, and then I got stuck. And so I took it over to this guy's place, and he had another friend come over, and they've both built lots of Vorons. And so I had them help like fine tune it and like get the wiring finished up and stuff like that. But then they started running into problems with it. So, so they've been diagnosing and debugging and changing out wires. There were some cross communication things happening in the wires, and then the circuit board got shorted out, so they had to swap out the main control board and the Voron. Yeah, all kinds of stuff, and so it wasn't ready to go today. After all, after him saying like, "Hey, if you're gonna come get it, like get over here," and I went over there, and he's like, "Oh, it's not ready. I got all this other stuff to do." It's like I just drove 40 minutes to get here. So, hey, a ride can wife. Good to see you. Thanks for dropping by. Yeah, the Octopus Pro is what I got for it. So, yeah. Um, Well, it turns out they had another Octopus Pro, and they wanted to buy another board anyway. So they just gave me their board because they were the one that shorted it out. But we were actually having problems with the drivers on it. They weren't working, and then he shorted out the board. So now they're really not working. So I got to get those driver chips exchanged for another set, because when I do pick it up from him, he's taking his drivers back out. So even when I do get it, it's not going to work until I get more driver chips in. So I got to get those exchanged. It's one thing after another. I just got so much stuff going on this week. I love the 3D printed lightsaber. Awesome. That's very cool. Yeah, those were a lot of fun to print. Um, I've been thinking about figuring out some kind of lights to put on the dark saber up here, but that'll probably happen a little bit later, because I'm basically going to be rebuilding and reorganizing this whole basement down here and where things are going to be pointing and stuff like that. So eventually, you're not going to see all this stuff. Well, you'll still see the Nanoleafs behind me, but it'll be a different configuration. But the whole view is going to shift. And I'm hoping to get some cameras kind of showing like more of the workspace kind of area and stuff like that. Um, so yeah. So if you want, if you're interested in me showing like the LinkedIn thing, let me know, and I'll pop into a browser right now and I'll show you how I kind of navigate through LinkedIn to find out who do I know at that company so that somebody can make an introduction for me. I'm absolutely happy, and I've said this on the stream a bunch of times, and it's always amazing how many people do not take me up on this. I will make as many introductions as you want. If there's somebody that I know at a company that you want to apply for a job, I will absolutely make introductions for people on this, like coming from the stream. You just have to DM me on LinkedIn and say, I'm coming in from your stream. Here's a URL of a profile that I'd like an introduction to. And this is what, this is what I'd like you to say. So give me the little blurb. Say, Carmen is a developer, been working with this technology stack, really wants to get to know about your company, etc. And I'll help you with the wording of it. And I'll make as many intros as you want. So let me pop over to a browser. Let me go back over to the screen. Let me go find a browser. Sure, I got a browser here somewhere. Oh, this is going to take a minute because it's got to open up all the browsers. All right, let me go find, which browser was that? All right, let me shrink this up so you can see it. This is just some of the 3D design that I've been tinkering with lately. Cool. So basically, how to use LinkedIn. So here's my LinkedIn 101 on here. By the way, go give Martin McGovern a follow on LinkedIn as well. I've had him on the stream a couple of times. Really great person to know. I don't know what Distilled is, so nope. All right, let's dive in. So let's see, who do I know that knows somebody? Let's go find. So I'm going to go through Jonan. So we talked about Jonan earlier. I'm just going to go through his profile. So what we can do is on LinkedIn. Just going to shrink the font down here just a little bit. Is you want to find somebody that you know. In this case, it would be me, right? So you're going to find my profile on LinkedIn. It's the same username that I use here. Here's a link to my socials. You can see it in the chat up here. But just for demonstration, I can't do it through my own. So I'm going to use Jonan just in the meantime. So what you want to do is when you're looking at my profile, you want to find the spot here that says 500 plus connections, and you want to click on that link for the connections. Okay, so you're going to go to my profile and you're going to find where it says 500 plus connections. You're going to click on that. This is going to show you all of my collection or my connections. And then from here, you can do a search. So from here, I can say, who does Jonan know or actually, sorry, not in the top search. You want to look at current company. So you're going to click on this drop down. It says current company. And let's say this is Twisted Mood. So Twisted Mood was asking about Salesforce people. So who does Jonan know that works at Salesforce? Hey, thanks for the follow. Kagarinu? The last 4 letters of your username make me think that you're Romanian. Because I know somebody with a Romanian last name that ends in EANU. So yeah, welcome by. Thanks for stopping by. Can you send me a CV for review? Absolutely, you can. Resume. Here's the link, and I'll go pull that up. So yeah, if anybody wants a resume review tonight, go send that over. Hey, RC, good to see you. Okay, so what I did is I went through Jonan's profile, went through his connections, and I clicked on current company, and I typed in Salesforce. Jonan knows 6 people at Salesforce. If I see a second degree connection, that means that they are second degree to me. I know Jonan. Jonan directly knows Tim, directly knows Benjamin, but directly knows Kobe, and so on. If I see a first degree connection, that means I'm already connected with that person that works at Salesforce. In this case, all 6 of these people, Jonan has a first degree connection with. And so now I can hit up Jonan and say, hey, Jonan, I'm thinking about some Salesforce thing, or I want to learn about some Salesforce stuff. And I see this person, Tim, is a software architect at Salesforce. I'd really like an introduction. They're kind of in my area. Broomfield's not far away. Maybe I can take them out for a coffee and have a chat. Can you please make an introduction to Tim? Here's a link to Tim's profile. Could you write up an introduction for me? This is what I'm willing to do for all of you. Okay. But if you just hit me up with a DM on LinkedIn and say, do you know anybody at Salesforce? I'm going to completely ignore that message. I don't have time to go do that homework for you. But when you go to my profile, click on 500 plus connections, and then in that bubble here, not in the top search, but in that bubble where it says current company, you can type in a company name and see whether I know anybody there. If it has a third degree connection, that means I know somebody that knows somebody at that company. And so I can start to make introductions. I can then maybe go figure out, okay, well, I know Jonan and Jonan knows somebody. So if I don't know anybody at Salesforce, I know Jonan knows people at Salesforce. So Twisted Mood, you can contact me. I can get a hold of Jonan and say, hey, I've got somebody from my live stream that wants an intro at Salesforce. Can you pass along this person's profile to Mark Turner? Because, this person from my stream would really like to talk with Mark Turner at Salesforce. And it may not happen, right? Jonan may be busy. Jonan may not see my message. It may take a week for him to even get my message. So I wouldn't expect like an overnight result. But I've had a lot of people reach back out to me saying, hey, cool, I sent a connection request. No problem. I'll have a chat with them. A lot of times I just get crickets. So even me and my network, I still get, when I send messages saying, hey, have you got a minute to talk to this person who's on my live stream? They've got some questions about your company. They'd really like to chat. Sometimes they just don't respond to me either. But at least then it's a warm connection. You're not reaching out totally cold where you don't know the person. And so it helps that introduction along. And then once you start having that conversation, now it's all on you. I'm completely removed from it. Once you make that connection, I'm removed from it. But that's what you do. So again, if you're looking at my profile, you're going to find that link that says 500 plus connections. You're going to click on that. Okay, so let's go back to, I know Jeremy Goldsmith. So I'm going to go to Jeremy's profile. So again, imagine you're on my profile on LinkedIn. You're going to find this thing that says 500 plus connections. You're going to click on that. And then up here where it says current company, you're going to click on that and you're going to type in the company name. So I'm going to leave that alone. So current company, let's see. Does Jeremy know anybody at, let's say SendGrid? Does Jeremy know anybody at SendGrid? No results. Okay. So let's try Twilio. Twilio, there we go. Show results. Hey, how about that? He knows people at Twilio. I also know Ty Alexander. So this is why Ty Alexander shows up as a first degree connection for me, because I'm already connected with Ty. But Dale and Joanna are second degree connections, which means Jeremy knows these people. And maybe I can hit up Jeremy for an introduction to these people. This is how you effectively build your network on LinkedIn. And again, networking is going to get you into those interviews much faster than just sending out resumes. Hey, Madeline of Riverdale, thanks for dropping by. Do I know anybody at Postman? I know many, many people at Postman. I wish I knew the people that were in charge of the Jonan show. Just showed up. Jonan, we were talking all about you earlier. And I'll have to take back some of the things I said about you. But Jonan, so good to see you, man. I was telling Carmen that I'm gonna try to reach out to Jonan sometime soon, because I haven't seen any activity from you in a long, long time. So really good to see you. Are you ever coming back to live stream? Love to see you come back. You see everything. Yeah, you probably got notified that I hit your LinkedIn profile. And you're like, why is Ian trolling my LinkedIn profile? I was showing people how to use connections on LinkedIn to make introductions or to ask for introductions. So, but yeah, good to see you, man. So good to see you. Hope you're doing well. We were actually chatting about 3D printing the other day at work, and someone's like, you should make like a pancake 3D printer. And it made me think of your whole like waffle iron project that you were trying to make. So if anybody's curious about that, you can go look up Jonan. I think it's on YouTube. You can go find Jonan's video where he was trying to like make a waffle iron flip or something, or turn over to make waffles or something. So yeah, fun little project. I love live stuff like that. Yeah, there is a pancake printer. But yeah, awesome. Good to have everybody come by. What else did I miss? So yeah, so if you wanna drop your resume, I already shared the link, but here's the link if you want to send it in. There's a form on that page. Well, there's a link to a Google form, and you'll just fill the stuff out. Say you want a public review, send in the document, and we'll go from there. Got a new follower, Zapper2K. Thanks for the follow. Appreciate that. So yeah, Madeline of Rivia also streams. Go give Madeline a follow. Madeline does a lot of like live coding and stuff like that. You have your first interview this week. Keeping expectations low. Why? You're going to crush that thing. I networked my way into the interview. See, networking works. Messaged the dev for coffee. Guy ended up being the owner of a company and invited me for an interview. That's awesome. That's fantastic. Soon. I said that Jonan would be on Teach Gen Tech with Carmen. I mean, that would be great. I mean, Jonan is a wealth of knowledge. Jonan would absolutely. So, Jen, you absolutely need to get Jonan on a live stream for sure, if Jonan's got time. So, we actually made waffles in the hallway at RailsConf. That's sweet. Waffle bot turned into alcohol bot, turned into hot beverage bot, turned into no longer streaming bot. Too soon. But yeah, coffee chats, like as scary as it can be to invite somebody you don't know to a coffee chat, by having an introduction through somebody else on LinkedIn, it's less of a what we call cold networking or cold outreach. It's kind of a warm outreach because somebody introduced you to them. So it's going to make it a lot friendlier. So absolutely, you should network as much as possible. I think it's much more about who you know in order to get into those interviews. It doesn't guarantee you're going to get an interview. It doesn't guarantee that they're going to skip steps in their interview process. But you're far more likely to have your resume even looked at if it's a referral coming in. And as you get to know these people, you can say like, hey, is your company hiring? Do they have a referral program? Can I give you my resume to get a referral? Sometimes there's financial incentive for people to do those referrals. So it can absolutely be worthwhile. Let me go pull up the let me go find the right window here. Of course, it's not showing up. All right. I'm just going to log into my my Gmail, and we'll get. All right, can wife cheering bits? Thank you for the bits. Much appreciated. So yeah, so any bits, any subs that come in, they're all going towards the charity that we're raising money for. So you're also welcome to donate to that. I'm a big fan of diversity in tech, and the Unloop company or the organization called Unloop is actually they're helping people who have been incarcerated get jobs in tech, which I also agree is part of diversity, right? Because you need a diverse background of people on your team, and so it's not just diversity of your racial background or your ethnic background or anything like that. I believe in diversity comes from like your walk of life, your way of life, your socioeconomic status, like all of that counts as diversity in tech. And so my goal here is that we as a community can raise $1,000 and I match whatever you put into that charity. All I see is the progress bar. I may not see who donates. And frankly, I don't need to know who donates, but I wanted to change it up. Instead of you donating money to me and then me turning around donating that money, I wanted to give all of you the opportunity to donate directly so that you can do tax write-offs and things like that if that's of interest or concern to you. So that was something that I really wanted to do. And once we've crushed this $1,000 goal, the next one that I have lined up is for Black and Latino kids to have more access to STEAM education and STEAM equipment. And STEAM is science, technology, engineering, arts, and what's the M stand for again? I just had a total mind blank. Normally it would be STEM, but I kind of link A in there and do STEAM. But a lot of STEM education is science, technology, engineering, and math. Thank you. And so it's going to provide material like course material as well as maybe laptops if they're in an underserved kind of area. So once we get unloop raised for, then we'll raise for this other group called STEM to the Future. So appreciate the bits, Madeline and Rivia. Thanks for the bits there as well. Let me go over and get to my Tech Interview Guide email. So no resumes in yet, but if anybody's got a resume that you want a review, absolutely get those sent in, and we'll review those on the stream. So feel free to send those in. Manor Mutant, good to see you as well. Got all kinds of folks dropping by today. Also come with specific questions. Hi, I saw your talk, read your post. Yep. Saw your code about blah. Can I ask some questions about something sometime? Absolutely. Yep. Like I said, Jonan's absolutely full of knowledge and full of ideas on this stuff too. Jonan's also been in hiring management positions as well as a lot of individual contributor type roles. Loves to nerd out on sort of the maker stuff and stuff like that. Hey, Jonan, do exclamation point PEW PEW. Thanks for the lurker, Radkin wife. So Jonan, do exclamation point pew pew. Actually, I should probably bring the thing over here first. So don't do it yet. All right, let me get plugged back in here. And try not to topple over everything on my desk. Of course, I need the one wire I put away. We'll get there. Move some painting supplies and sodas and stuff here. Plug it in right here. All right. Jonan, do exclamation point pew pew if you're still there, still hanging out in chat. Or anybody else, for that matter. This is just ridiculously fun to watch. This was fun to do on stream. So we did this a couple of weeks ago. Anyway, Jonan likes tinkering with electronics and stuff too. So good times. All right, so it's plugged in back there. It'll work back there. You just won't see the what it actually is, but cool. All right, well, let me go back to my chat window and we'll go back into chat mode until we see perhaps some resumes come in for a review. So yeah, if you want a resume review, absolutely, you can send a CV in. I will take a look at it right here on stream if you want. Zooey, thanks for dropping by. I have to practice your first demo of a feature you worked on. Sweet. Zooey, let's catch up for a coffee or something sometime. Let me know when you're available. This week is not going to work, but if you're available next week, let's do that. Jen, thanks for dropping by as well. And anybody else that had to step out, if I missed you, apologies for that. I think people submitted resumes to places that aren't your form. I mean, I've only got one form, so Hopefully they did. Let me go pull up my Google form just to be sure. Nope, I have no new. I got nothing new. Repost to your LinkedIn. I can resend. Oh, you sent it on LinkedIn. Okay, so if you send it to this link, then I get like all the context of like what it is you want reviewed and all that kind of stuff. So if you can use the form that just showed up in chat, it'll take you to a webpage on techinterview.guide, and then there's a link on there that goes to a Google form where you fill out some information. That would be a little bit easier. Unless you want to drop in chat what your context is about like what you want reviewed. I can still pull it off of LinkedIn if you want. Messaging. Actually, I didn't get any new messages on LinkedIn either. Weird. Madeline, did you? I think a while ago on stream you asked me to send it to my LinkedIn. Okay, let me see if I can find it here. There it is. I found it. Except Madeline, it's got like your full contact info on there. So let me know in chat if you're cool with showing that on stream. Otherwise, if you want to send it in where you anonymize some of that, that would be a little bit better. I just don't want people to see like phone numbers and stuff like that of people. RC, thanks for reposting that stuff. I appreciate it. Did I miss anything else on here? Looks like Jonan left. Or he's lurking in the background. He's just being super quiet. It's all good. Oh, it was really good to see Jonan drop by. Hey, Dota 2. You referred someone here. Hooray. Somebody actually came by and said that they were chatting with someone asking about interview advice, and they said that person recommended your stream, but they didn't say who that person was. So it might have been you. Whoa, dude, it was Dota 2. All right, sweet. Well, Dota, thank you for that. Appreciate it. So Dota is one of our VIPs, as well as RC Maniac. So anybody that you see in chat that has a little diamond next to their name is someone I've flagged as a VIP. Also Zooey. These are people who I trust are going to give out good advice and good information about job hunt and how to interview and how to talk to companies because they've been there. They've gone through all of that. And I also know that they turn around and mentor other people. Like Zooey went through a boot camp. We had Zooey on the stream a while back. Zooey went through a boot camp, took a couple of months to find a job, got a job, and immediately turned around and started coaching and mentoring people at his boot camp on what he did and how he did company research and how he made a resume and what he studied for interviews and stuff like that. That's the kind of stuff that I will happily flag people as VIPs. So anybody that you see with a VIP flag in my chat, you can absolutely ask them questions in chat while we're here. Whether they will answer private whispers, I won't say. I won't volunteer and say, oh yeah, just message RC Maniac anytime. I'm not going to volunteer them for that, but they're, you can absolutely drop by anytime and say, if you see them in my chat, just tag them in chat and say, hey, RC, I got a question, and then go from there. RC says some friends survived the layoff at Google, but they're a little rattled. Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. Is everybody in here a dev mostly? Mostly a dev. Yep. Id of Allen, good to see you as well. Id of Allen is also a really great stream to follow. Let's do a little shout out here. Shout out to the Id of Ellen. So yeah, go give the Id of Ellen a follow as well as Madeline of Rivia. We'll do. I hope I spelled that right. Yes, it is. Okay. Yeah, go give Madeline of Rivia a follow as well. There are cooldowns on these, so I've got two different shout outs. So one should show up at the top of your chat, and the other one will just be the link that just showed up here for Madeline of Rivia. But go give both of those folks a follow. Juggling biohazards as an aspiring dev. I say as soon as you know how to write hello world, you are a dev. I don't think you have to wait for any particular point in your sort of career, like work or how much you've done before you can say that you're a dev. So, all right, let's go have a look at the resume thing again. Oops, wrong window. All right, let me go check the email. Public resume review. There we go. Awesome. We'll get that downloaded. And we will get that shown over on this screen right over here. Cool. Thanks for blanking out your contact info. And let's go switch over to that screen and we'll do a quick review for Madeline of Rivia. All right, I'm going to zoom in. So first thing I actually like to do on resumes is actually zoom out and kind of get a sense of how are you using the space on the page. One thing that kind of stands out to me is your languages and experience. You got kind of this big empty sort of hole right in the middle of the page. And our eyes follow the path of least resistance. And so when they tell you that recruiters only spend like 6 to 10 seconds scanning this, they really mean it. And our eyesight is going to go the path of least resistance. What's the easiest thing for me to read? I could read through all of this, but again, when we read bullet points, we really only read the first 5 or 6 words anyway. More than likely, you're going to draw their eye down this left side of the page, which means they're going to miss most of this work experience. So if this is stuff that you really want them to see, I would probably move the skills block up here to the top. Now, another thing, and I've mentioned this on the stream in the past too, if you notice, when I start highlighting stuff on your resume and I start dragging down the page, notice that when I went from your name into the summary, that the word summary didn't get highlighted. It did highlight languages and experience. It highlighted some of your work experience and it highlighted your education. When I come down here and highlight designer and go down to community manager, well, it suddenly unhighlighted all of that and instead highlighted some, but not all of your skills. This means that whatever built your PDF file did a really horrible job. So because what you want it to do is you want it, like as you're highlighting, that it's kind of going all of this and then all of the left column and then all of the right column. Let me show you why this matters. I'm going to come in here. I'm going to highlight all of the text on here if it'll let me. It's not even going to let me do a Control A to highlight everything on here. Interesting. Well, I'll try it anyway. So if I go over to github.com, oops. If I paste all of, no, it's not going to do it. I want to try and get all of the content from that resume on here. I might have to open it in Google Docs first. So this is how we wanted to highlight, but the actual PDF version did not do that. Let me see if I can open this just in find my Explorer window here. Lost my mouse pointer now. There it is. Weird. Here we go. Okay. So now when I highlight all this stuff, we see the syntax go kind of wonky. So if I highlight everything and hit copy, and then I come over here and I do a paste, this is the order that that applicant tracking systems are going to be parsing your resume. First thing they see is your phone number, then your email address, and then all this other stuff. Bachelor of Arts, University of Victoria, and then immediately into software developer with 100 devs. And then eventually your name with all the spaces in between, and then full stack developer with spaces in between. And so if people are looking for, hey, does anybody mention on their resume that they are a full stack developer? Your resume is not going to hit because all of these individual letters got a space in between them. And so these are not the word full stack developer. It's the letter F, the letter U, the letter L, the letter L, the letter S. But all this stuff is also completely out of order, right? Your skills are way down here and it's not underneath a skills header. That skills header ended up somewhere else. And so I would reevaluate the tool that you use that actually created this PDF. See if you can get it in like a doc format and then print it as a PDF or something like that. This is a good test to try to figure out like how well our applicant tracking system is going to read my resume. There's also a really good site that you can use called jobscan.co, I think. Yeah. And what you can do here is you can upload your resume as well as copy and paste the text of a job post, and it'll tell you how well it matches. But it's going to go through and try to scan your resume the same way that an applicant tracking system would to try to figure out what's your phone number, what's your email, what are your portfolio links, what's your work experience. And it's going to show you how well it matches and how well it was able to parse that thing. So that would be absolutely a priority. If you're going to send this resume out, you need to fix that. You need to be able to go in and do a control A and a paste in just a plain text thing. And that's going to show you how an applicant tracking system is going to go through and try to scan that stuff. But even things like full stack developer, how it put all the spaces in between those letters, whether you did that or whether the software that you used, or in whatever font they picked or whatever, if they did that, it'll give you a good idea of some things to sort of adjust in there. So, all right, let's see. What else did I miss in chat? I missed a whole bunch of stuff apparently. Yeah, these are recorded. Yeah, you can always come back and look at it for sure. So let's go back and dive in a little bit more on the resume. So that aside, let's look at the content of your resume. Sorry, I pulled up the one with, oh, you know what's interesting? The second one that you sent me, no, that was the first one. Why didn't it pull down the other one? I apologize for briefly showing your contact info on there. I'll leave that. Okay, so we'll just look at your content here. So a summary is good. Generally, what I would say is if you're going to write a summary on here, it needs to grab my attention as to why you're a good candidate for my company. So what you want to avoid in the summary are generalizations about I'm a great problem solver and whatever. You want to talk about like why you're a good fit for their job at their company. So a proven track record of creating and implementing successful front and back end apps, that's fine. But if they're only looking for like a back end developer, they're only looking for a front end developer, you want to tailor your resume to look like a front end developer. If you're applying for a full stack role, then that's a little bit different. But what you want to do is you want to find out like what does that company care about? How can I write this summary in a really quick, impactful way that shows I can bring immediate value to them aside from I have these skills? What is it about those skills that are going to allow you to make an impact at that job? For languages and experience, so you call yourself a full stack developer. I'm not doubting that whatsoever because I know what 100 Devs teaches, and I totally agree with their curriculum and so on. But you're a full stack developer, and the programming languages that you're listing are way down the list. So I would say, if you're a JavaScript developer or TypeScript developer, that should be the very first thing on the list. Don't put HTML and CSS. That would make me feel like you do more of the design and the layout than the actual programming side. And so I would put JavaScript / TypeScript as the very first thing on there, and then start listing out frameworks and libraries, and HTML and CSS are going to be in the list, but don't make that the first thing in the list. The first thing in the list is going to be whatever technology that company needs you to know. So if you're applying for a TypeScript job, TypeScript is going to be the first thing they see. Any project you put on your resume is going to be a TypeScript project because you want to look like a TypeScript developer who happens to know all this other stuff. But you don't want to look like, oh, I know HTML and CSS and JavaScript and all these other things, and eventually TypeScript is way down the list. You don't want your resume to look like that because they're going to look through all that and look through other projects and other portfolio work and go, well, you say you know TypeScript. We're trying to hire for a TypeScript job, but I don't see a strong correlation of, yes, I am a TypeScript developer. And so kind of the high level advice that I tend to give on resumes is make a really big resume with all of your skills, all of your projects, all the different technologies that you've used, all the different background jobs that you've had, and make a really big resume out of that. When you go to apply for a job, you're going to take away everything that's not relevant to that company for that job, and you're going to trim it back down to one page. With practice, trimming that back down is going to take 5 minutes or so. It's not going to take a very long time. So I would start by listing everything on here, getting projects and stuff like that that you did with 100 devs. Actually, like list out some projects on there. If you, I think if it's exclamation point resume sample, there's a sample resume that I have. There it is. It actually picked it up from the chat. So you can go look at that link that just posted. And we'll dive in on things like spelling and capitalizations and things in a minute. But you can go look at that example resume that I made, and that'll give you an idea of like how you can talk about your projects and stuff like that. So go have a look at that. So if you're going to apply for a job where they want you to know JavaScript, you're going to put JavaScript first. You're going to put JavaScript projects on there. You're going to highlight your JavaScript experience. So again, when you're talking about 100 devs, you're not going to say I'm adept at working with HTML and then CSS and then JavaScript. You're going to say I'm adept at working with JavaScript and Express and React and HTML and CSS. Like those things are going to come later, but you need to look like a JavaScript developer that knows all these other things. The other technologies that you list in here are fine. Object-oriented programming is okay. But what you want to make sure is that you're naming things properly. So Node.js is okay, but JS is lowercase. React is also react.js. JavaScript has a capital S. It feels a little pedantic and a little bit, particular. It's like, does it really, do people really care? It's like, yeah, it's an attention to detail thing. It's not that would ever disqualify you from a job, but it does show that you've actually put a lot of care into building out your resume, that you're capitalizing things right and you're spelling the technologies correctly. Sorry for the noise. All right, so let's dive back in. So work experience with 100 devs, worked with the training program to collaborate with outside clients on projects, collaborate with other developers on robust projects for clients. So again, this could be where you list out what some of those projects are. So we'll talk about that in a minute. Assisted within the community to support other developers reach their goals. I would say to help other developers, to support other developers to reach their goals. Maybe I think some of the grammar on this one's a little off for the assisted with. My computer just lock up. What happened? All right. I think I'm still streaming. Let me know if everybody's still there. My computer just froze up for a few seconds. But let me go double check OBS. It doesn't show that I lagged. It didn't show that I dropped any packets, but my screen paused and everything for a while. Okay, cool. I see Black Deep. Thanks for dropping by. Good to see you. All right, so let's go back to this. So I think some of these statements are good. I would fix the grammar on this one. Built semantically structured full stack web application. So you've kind of talked about that already. I think you could combine the full stack web apps with some of these other points up here. Create a full stack app focusing on meditation, affirmations, journaling, and mood boards. Okay. So again, I think with these aside from this one, this is more of a community thing, but I think this bullet point and the last two bullet points you could probably combine a little bit just by showing the projects that you made, or having like a GitHub profile, or so that's the other thing I would add to your contact info. I would add your GitHub profile and a LinkedIn profile on here as well. Just that way they can get to your LinkedIn profile, or they can go to your GitHub and actually see the projects that you built. Normally what I tell people is if you really need room on your resume, drop the summary. Take the summary out and write a short little cover letter instead. Or you could move this summary over here, move your skills up here. Again, just so it's really prominent of like, these are the skills that I have and things that I've done. But I think because you're kind of new as a developer, if you're applying for a developer type of role, I would recommend putting some project, like actually like listing out the projects. What were the tech stacks that you did in that project? What were the main sort of learning goals of that project, and so on. Having this in here that you're a designer, that you're a community manager are fine. But if that's not the kind of role that you're going for, then I would minimize the number of bullet points if you're applying for a full stack job. If you're applying for a job where you need to be a developer and a community manager, like let's say you want to get into DevRel, then yes, you're going to give me all of these bullet points, because community management is a big part of developer relations or developer advocacy type of role. If you're going to do more front end work, I would leave more of this design stuff on here, talking about what you designed and what you were able to implement there. So again, this is where building out that really big resume is going to really help, where you've got lots of bullet points. But depending on what kind of job you're applying for, you're going to change the bullet points that actually end up on that resume. So it's okay to show that you've been doing design for a while. That's fine. But I would, if you're applying for a developer role, I might only do like 1 or 2 bullet points for this one, because it's not as relevant to the role to which you're applying. And same thing with the community manager. If the type of role that you're applying for is just a developer and you're not expected to interact with community and things like that, again, give me 1 or 2 bullet points about this. And then that'll give you more space on the page then to put some projects on here. The other thing that you could do is, if you're going to apply for a developer role and these things aren't as applicable, the designer role and the community manager role, again, if you tighten up the skills block here, you could probably move those 2 roles into that left column. And that way, this whole right column is your skills, your 100 devs, and then projects. And then some of this other stuff can get pushed over onto the left column instead. So you could move, I would move the summary to the left column, move your skills to the top of the right column, and then list 100 devs, and then maybe list like 2 or 3 of your projects if you have room for them, if you're going to apply for a developer role. Again, if you're going to apply for developer relations, developer advocacy kind of role where community management is going to be a part of it, you could leave the design work here, or you could move that design work over to that right column still and minimize the number of bullet points that you're going to give me there. If you're going to apply for like a role that's more front end, you can still list all of your 100 devs stuff on here, but your design work, you could leave that on, and then maybe move the community management one over to the left column. So it's all about like, how do you show I am relevant for this job? Because right now you look like 3 different employees. You're a developer, you're a designer, and you're a community. So if I'm hiring for a developer, those last 2 aren't as important. If I'm hiring front end, developer, designer are important. If I'm doing DevRel or community driven stuff, then community management is going to be more important. So that's how I would kind of rearrange those depending on what kind of job you're actually going to apply to. Now, you could also kind of format this into 3 different resumes and just kind of keep things up to date that way. You could have one resume that's just development, one resume or like one that's full stack, one that's more front end where you're keeping more of the bullet points about the design work, and then a third one where you're doing like development and community type of thing. So you'd have a majority of your resume be your projects, even if they were personal projects. Yeah, because you're showing the development work. Because right now, your whole resume, like you're saying, I claim to know these skills. My time at 100 Devs, I've worked on some projects, but I don't know what the projects are other than the one bullet point where you kind of talk at a really high level, like I made an app about meditation. It's like, okay, well, what tech stack did you use for that? How did you build it? How long did it take? Did you do it over a weekend, or was this like a month-long project? Like, I can't even get to your code from here. You don't give me a GitHub link or anything like that. So I have no way of actually seeing these projects. And so the example resume link that I put in earlier It'll show you like, this is how you can link to the GitHub repo for your project, as well as if you've got it deployed somewhere, give me a link to where I can actually go see it deployed. Now you do have this portfolio link. I would actually make that a clickable link if possible. But let's go take a look at that. So download the resume, and then things that you've done as your work. Here's your portfolio. Now I can actually see what you've built, which is fine, but I had to go from your resume to your portfolio and then one more click in order to see the different kinds of projects that you've been involved in. I'm not going to do that kind of work if I'm scanning a resume. If I'm scanning a resume, I want to get a kind of an overview or a glimpse of that on the resume itself. If I've got to go look for that info, I'm going to pass on your resume. I'm literally spending 6 to 10 seconds on this until you're in the interview process. Once you're in the interview process, I'm going to spend a lot more time reading through every little thing on here because I'm going to be looking for questions to ask you during the interview. But you have to convince me to even give you the interview. And right now, I would want to see more projects. For somebody brand new in the industry, like that kind of entry level role, I would want to actually see some project description on here, aside from I made full stack apps. And this is a list of like the high level things. Actually, give me a little block, a little blurb of what was it? Was it a solo project? Was it a group project? Give me a link to go see it on GitHub. Give me a link to go experience it live if possible, if it's actually deployed somewhere. Because that's going to give even more credibility to this is what I'm capable of doing as a developer. So I hope that makes sense. But yeah, the portfolio looks fantastic. I agree with Carmen. Like this portfolio page is really nice. I like the background. I think you did a good job with the background. And then all of these things, I can click on here. You show me the languages that you use. This is all great. Again, capital S on JavaScript. That's just me being a little particular. But you've got a whole preview thing, right? Here you've got islanddog.com, but when I hover over it, I see it's actually going to a Netlify app. So you will want to be consistent about that. If you've actually got the domain name, then great. But yeah, this is a great little site. Puppies. Yeah, this is great. It's a nice clean layout. Like this is really nice to see. I would like to get to this page directly from your resume. Everybody loves dogs. That's right. But yeah, very, very clean UI. I agree. Do registered domains matter for portfolio projects? No. I mean, if you've got the disposable income that you can actually go spend $6 or $10 or whatever on the domain name and know how to like actually hook that up to Netlify or wherever you're hosting, then great. But you don't have to. I mean, for an entry level dev, having stuff on Netlify or Heroku or wherever you're hosting it for free, like we don't care. We just want to I want to experience what you've built, because that like saying that you built a thing, okay, giving me a link to GitHub, okay, better. I can go look at your code, but giving me a live link where I can go experience what you've built is way better, because now I can actually see that not only can you when you tell me you did a thing, I have to trust that you can do the thing. If you give me a GitHub link, I can actually see the code and go, okay, this person can actually write code. But if you give me a deployed link, I can also see, hey, this person can write working code and they know how to deploy code. That's a game changer for me. So getting any kind of link on your resume was like, click here to go actually see what I built. Go interact with it. Click on things on there. Or if it's of interest to you, like go register as a user and like try it out. Like let me experience what you've built. That's way more powerful. Way, way more powerful. Cool. And then the last thing that I'll mention, so with the design work and the community manager work, there's another way to kind of take some of this to that next level. So a lot of the bullet points here that I'm seeing for the designer and the community manager are perfectly fine. You're using really good action verbs, like I created this thing, I published this thing, I make email campaigns and so on. What would take that to the next step is talk about what kind of impact that had. Like I've worked with 50 different vendors and store owners. I've been able to deploy 500 email campaigns or however many email campaigns you've done. If you can quantify that a little bit and talk about the impact that that's had. Same thing with community manager, research and designing these things for Meowbox, respond to comments and so on. How often? How many people? Assist in planning and execution of local events. How many? If you're doing community management, like, I've assisted in planning 20 different events in 10 different programs. I mean, even if the numbers are small, even if it was only like 2 local events and 1 program, that's fine, but, like, quantify that. But then talk about the impact, like, how many people showed up to that local event? What's your average attendance on those events, whether they're remote or in person? I would love to see the impact of that, because when people are hiring, especially for, like, community type roles, they wanna know more than just, "Oh, yeah, I planned this event." It's like, "Okay, but if only 2 people showed up, that's not as impactful as if 100 people showed up." So getting the impact statements on here is also gonna really draw people's attention, go, "Oh, I need to call this person. Like, look at the stuff that this person did." Um, so having any kind of impact on there would also be really, really good. Overall, though, I like the layout. I might actually drop some of the lines on here. Like, this one is just a whole bunch of dash marks, where these ones are actual, like, drawn in lines. The separators aren't really as necessary. If you've got clean columns where you're not doing like wall to wall text where, it could be misconstrued that this line of text continues to, go across this column. If your columns are well laid out, you don't need those lines, because again, those lines are also drawing the reader's attention on the page of where you want their eye to go. And so you want to highlight, like, you want to figure out, where do I want to draw their attention? It might mean throwing a little bit of bold on here. Like, if you're applying for a JavaScript job, make this word JavaScript in bold. That's going to, so as they're kind of skimming over the page, you're going to be like, "Oh, why is this bold over here?" And it's going to draw their eyesight over to that part of the page. So using a very little bit of what I call hot sauce, like, just sprinkle some hot sauce on here by just putting a couple of things in bold, you're going to help draw their eyesight of what you want them to see on the page. But yeah, overall, I like the layout. Overall, I think you did a good use of the space on the page. I think getting rid of the lines, I think, and maybe expanding your borders a tiny bit, it'll give you a little more room to put a little more content on here. Um, Then having a look at some of the other stuff, like, yeah, just having the year on here. I agree with what other people are saying. Like, 2022, that was only a month ago. So was it January 2022 and you've got a year of experience? I would love to see a month on there. Traditionally, you would put the month and year over here on the right side. It would free up an extra line of text that you can, like, put something else on. Um, so try to think a little bit about, like, could I combine these things on one line? Like, maybe software developer, comma, 100 devs, and then over here on the right margin, you put the date. Now you just collapsed all 3 of those lines into one line and gives you even more room on the page to do something else. In graphic design, having a single word kind of like be left on a new line by itself is something we call an orphan. Generally, you want to try to avoid having too many of those on the page. You could try shrinking the font or playing with the grammar a little bit. Again, bullet points don't have to be grammatically correct sentences, but it does kind of have to make sense that when they are reading it, that they kind of understand, like, what it is, what that bullet point was about. Um, so bullet points don't have to end in a period. They don't have to be like actual sentences. But try to find a way of, like, see if you can get that word more up here on this page. It might just mean, like, pushing those margins out another, like, quarter of an inch or something like that, and it might reformat that and pull those up. Again, there's a lot of empty space vertically between all of these different skills that you've got listed over here. And that does take up a lot of extra room on the page. And so I think you could draw out a skills block here where you have, like, languages and frameworks, other libraries and technologies, or libraries/technologies. And that could be where you're listing things like Tailwind, Mongo, Netlify, because you've deployed on Netlify. Git, but you don't put Git on here. So, like, try to find some of those other technologies and, like, put the skills, like, across the top of the right column. 100 devs, talk about your projects, move designer and community manager over where the languages and experiences are. If you're going for a full stack role, again, depending on how you, like, what kind of job you envision yourself doing or what kind of job you're applying for, you could go with 3 different layouts and then figure out from there, okay, which bullet points are going to be most relevant to this company or that company. Alrighty. Have you used SQL? So 100 Devs does MongoDB, so they don't really get into SQL in the program. I would be careful. So Dota 2 mentioned like put SQL on there even if you've only run a couple of queries. I would be careful putting stuff on the resume if you've only done like a very, very little amount of that. So if you know how to structure a SQL query and you've done some SQL queries to like fetch some data, that's very different from I know SQL enough to like go create tables and how to do joins between tables and things like that. When I see SQL on a resume, you're sort of setting an expectation of what do I know about SQL, and that's more than just can I do a select statement, can I do inserts, can I do updates, can I do deletes. Like I would have an expectation that you would know all of those sort of CRUD operations in SQL, as well as doing joins. That would be my expectation as a hiring manager. So be careful putting things on there. If you're not comfortable answering interview questions about it, leave it off for sure. You did one quick class, then I wouldn't put it on a resume. Hey, Antonio, good to see you in chat as well. And look back through chat. I know I missed a ton of stuff. What about one domain and using subdomains? You can. So Idav Allen was asking about the domain name thing and using subdomains. However you want to structure it. Again, if you've got the disposable income and whatever to set that kind of stuff up, then yeah, go for it. But I wouldn't worry too much about it. Honestly, especially for an entry level thing, it does show a deeper level of knowledge and a deeper level of, I really wanted to go the extra mile on this. And so I really wanted to go in and like make, put a domain on this instead of just netlify.app. It does show that you've kind of gone a little bit above and beyond. And for an entry level role, that could be like, oh wow, look what you did. But if you need a job, you should be spending your time networking and applying for jobs and not as much doing those kinds of like nice to haves. Focus on what you need to do. Like focus on the leak code thing, keep going with project work and like keep your projects up to date. Keep your general programming skills sharp so that when you get the interview, you can dive in and you can get through that interview. If I missed anything else in chat, there is a channel point redeem that you can do. That'll get my attention. So if I'm droning on and on and on and I miss a bunch of stuff in chat like I just did while I was going through this resume, feel free to just like interrupt me and be like, hey, could you address this thing? Just repost your question. I'm totally okay with that. If you're reposting your question like every 30 seconds, that gets annoying. But if I legit missed your question and you still got questions or you want a resume review as well, you can absolutely send in a resume. We'll get that on the stream and we'll do another review. But if I missed a question, please repost it. I'm here to help people out and kind of give my thoughts and perspectives and stuff like that. And so I would love to answer those questions. So, trying to think of how to pronounce that first time chat. Thalness. Lethalness? I don't know. How would you like me to pronounce your username? Thoughts on open source's experience. Open source is good experience. Some companies will have a lot more desire to see open source. Sorry, I got stuff falling over here because I'm rearranging my office. Some companies will put a much bigger focus on open source than others. Every kind of open source that you do though still looks good on a resume, even if it's just like a really small contribution. But if you can get some commits into an open source project, that looks fantastic. So yeah, try to get that on there as much as you can for sure. Electrics, thanks for the follow as well. What else have I missed? I had something else come in. Antonio was asking, when you told me on the stream one day, same day, I said your name to a couple of mods and people on Discord, what happened, and couldn't get you unbanned because you seem like a great person. Yeah, that's fine. I appreciate that, Antonio. I've actually tried reaching out several times to the mods of 100 devs to say like, hey, can you please get Leon to look at this stuff? I did hear back from one mod. Apparently Leon hasn't done any unbans in like a really, really, really long time. Like anybody that's been banned is like either staying banned or it's like, one day he's going to get around to it, but apparently he hasn't gone and unbanned anybody whatsoever. I've tried reaching out to him on Twitter publicly as well and got nothing. So I'm not too concerned about it. If I can get unbanned, great, but if not, that's okay too. I would appreciate any help that you can do in that Discord without getting banned yourself, to have people come over when I'm streaming and say like, hey, this guy, reviews resumes and gives ideas on company research and talk about networking and all that kind of stuff. I'm absolutely happy to help. I think what 100 Devs is doing is fantastic, and I would love to like do more mentoring and help with that kind of stuff. If I can't get back into Discord, that's okay though. I actually tried making a second Discord account, and I was able to join the Discord community, but I couldn't type anything in any of the channels without a phone number. And as soon as I put my phone number in, it immediately banned me. So I think that there's some sort of protection in there that that phone number was already connected to a banned account, and it won't let me get back in, which is fine. It is what it is. So yeah, I'm not too concerned about it. If I can get unbanned someday, that would be fantastic. So, oh, said I might be unbanned. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me go check. If I can get unbanned, that would be fantastic. So let's go over to twitch.tv, learn with Leon. If I can get unbanned, that would be amazing. It's gonna let me in, maybe. Create an account containing a sunflower. All right. These are always fun. Verify. Did it just let me in? It let me in. Hooray. All right. I promise to abide by their rules and not spam things. You're all about to find out my birthday here, but that's fine. Oh, I already have a Discord account though. Shoot, what do I do for? I think it's Ian Douglas at iandouglas.com. I already have a Discord account though. Oh, it is that account. Okay. I forgot I used my gaming account on here. Wait, what? All right, let's just try this. It's already registered. I know it's already registered. I don't want to register for a new account. I want to get in using my existing account. Join the wait list. Wait, student. Oh, I don't want Student Hub. I don't care about Student Hub. Well, sweet. It looks like I got in. So thank you for the update on that. I told them my real birthday. Sure, why not? Birthdays are closer on the 15th. I know like 3 other people with May 15th as their birthday. That's great. Sweet. All right. So I'll go make sure that that's all set up on Discord later on. But yeah, looks like I'm back in. So I will absolutely promise to abide by all their rules. So it wasn't already have an account option. Yeah. All right. I should have logged in. I'll figure all that out. Thank you for the many reminders of just log in. Just log in with the account you already have. Cool. Thank you, Antonio. Yeah, Antonio. Thank you for saying that. Or sorry that I misread what you said. All right, we'll figure it out. So I will. This is an unclaimed account. All right, I might have to figure that out a little later. All right. Anyway, at least I know now. So, all right, let me hydrate for a minute. And thanks again for the new follows. If anybody else is interested, I got this whole website. It's all full of free content, free material. I've also got a YouTube channel that you can check out. Lots of free videos. A lot of the questions that I answer on the stream, I like to make into little clips and put those clips into playlists on YouTube. So I got lots and lots of content over there if you want to go check that out. Always happy to take feedback and stuff. How did I get 31 viewers? This is amazing. Thanks for everybody dropping by. So yeah, if I can get to 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, we're going to do a giveaway. And I'm probably going to give away this 3D printed treasure chest that I made. So it's not my design. Somebody else designed it. I printed it though in all these wonderful colors. And so I'm gonna give this away. And when I give it away, it may not be empty. I may put something inside. So this is 3D printed and it weighs about a pound, a little over a pound. It took about 4 days to 3D print, and it looks fantastic. I really like how it turned out. It's got 8 different colors of filament on here, and I'm gonna give this away when I hit 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. So help me get to 1,000 on there. A boat, yeah. I'm gonna put a little benchy in there. No, it will be something much cooler than a benchy calibration print. But yeah, help me get to 1,000. You know, let other people know that are like job hunting and stuff like that. That I've got this channel. Always happy to have followers here on Twitch, but I really want to get to 1,000 on YouTube because that unlocks some other stuff on YouTube. So if you can help me get to 1,000, I appreciate it. I think I'm around like 950 or something, or maybe a little under 950. So if you can help me out, that would be fantastic. 3D printed gold coins, that'd be kind of neat. So yeah, whenever we hit 1,000, the next time I live stream after I hit 1,000, we'll do a giveaway. So keep an eye on it. If you see it inching closer and closer to 1,000, then you know it's going to be giveaway time. And yeah, you can just come hang out and chat. And I'll probably live stream on both YouTube and Twitch. When I hit 1,000, I'll probably go live on YouTube, and we'll do the giveaway. So. But yeah, I haven't actually put anything new up on YouTube in a while, other than like the full episodes of what I do here on Twitch. But I'll get back in. I think I figured out how to fix my clip thing. But the chatbot is now running on a different machine, and it's going to have a hard time processing the stuff. So I need to figure out how to do the clips, but then tell my Windows machine to actually make the clip, and so on and so on. So I got a bunch of stuff. So. You're going to go to YouTube right now and sub, and I'll get to 1,000. That's great. All right, 955. Sweet. So yeah, if I can get 45 more people to subscribe on YouTube, I'll do a giveaway. So that's one giveaway that we're going to do. And then every quarter, I do like a big month-long kind of giveaway. So I don't know if March is going to be the giveaway month because I've got a bunch of like trips and stuff in March. And so I won't be streaming as much in March. February is coming up a little too soon, but typically what I do is I do some kind of 3D printed giveaway where it's like you come by and I give away like a little 3D thing. We've done the articulated dragons in the past. In October, we did these little cards that you put together, and it was like Christmas ornaments and toys and things like that. I'll have to noodle on it a little bit and try to figure out like what is the next giveaway going to be. Maybe instead of doing it quarterly, I'll do it every 4 months, and we'll just aim for April. April is going to be like giveaway month. And then the next one will be May, June, July, August. And then we'll do another one for December. I like to do it earlier than December, though, because that way you can get stuff in time for the holidays if you're going to give stuff away as gifts. So we'll figure that out as we go. But March, I think, is going to be too busy. So I'm going to say April is going to be giveaway month. And it'll be like a regular thing. Every time I stream, I'm going to be doing giveaways. You can come by and do exclamation point giveaway and like join the giveaway. I have all my own giveaway software and stuff like that. So we'll figure all that stuff out. Yep, Cameron's got a dragon. Hope somebody wins the giveaway. My giveaway is all this material. It's on the internet. Pure gold. But now you can learn at home. Yeah, there's so much stuff that you can learn online for now, for sure. So yeah, so we'll be doing that giveaway. RC's given some feedback on open source's experience. One thing to know is developers won't see your resume until after you get it past HR. Yep. HR is going to look at GitHub most of the time. So if your only experience is GitHub, HR may reject you because they don't see experience. Again, this is why you want to put your project work on the resume and not just talk about like, hey, I did this thing. Like you need to show them on the resume that you did that thing. That's going to be more believable because they can they're more likely to click on a link on your resume. and actually look at what you've done. HR people are not always technical. And so being able to experience what you've built, again, having that deploy link on your resume is way more powerful. Where they can actually go experience and go, wow, check out this website this person made. They're far more likely to get you on the phone. What if your GitHub's only active for 2 months? That doesn't matter. I would say as long as it's been really active for that 2 months, like if you got like a lot of sort of green dots on there, I think it's fine. If the work you've been doing is private, that's okay. You can still make your private repos available on GitHub. So for example, if you all go to my GitHub, it's just Ian Douglas, not 736. But if you go to my GitHub account and you look at my contribution graph, you'll see I got a lot of green dots on there, but you won't be able to see what those contributions are because I do things on private repos. So there's a setting that you can go into GitHub and say, I want to show my contributions on private repos, and it won't say what the repo was. It won't show any detail about the repo. So like they won't even see the name of the repo, but they'll see like Carmen contributed 8 commits to a private repo. Like that's all it's going to tell you. And so it's a good way of saying like, hey, I'm still contributing. One question that I've had in the past was, well, if I have to make a whole separate GitHub account for work, how do I show people my current personal GitHub? Because they're not going to be able to go look at my work GitHub. Well, again, you could enable the private repo on your work GitHub, and you could just say on your resume, like, or when you're doing the interview, you can say, my personal GitHub doesn't have very many contributions, but I can give you my work GitHub account if you want to go look at the amount of contributions, but all the repos are private anyway. You're not going to be able to see it. There are other ways that you can kind of mirror that data, but that takes custom software where every time you make a commit over here, it makes a private commit on something on your personal account. So if you make 10 commits tomorrow at work, it'll make like 10 commits on your own personal, private repo. You can do things that way. It feels a little janky. It kind of feels like cheating, but if you can't even tell them your work GitHub account or it's on something that's not GitHub, then that's one way that you can mirror that. But it does take sort of custom effort to go down that road. Still learning a lot of JavaScript on Free Code Academy, Odin projects. I'm curious. Yeah, Free Code Academy is actually a pretty good curriculum. Is it okay even if we post small code changes or small code challenges? Yeah, absolutely. And that's something that one of the people that I mentor on a regular basis, I tell them anytime you go do like an application and you do an interview and they want you to do a take home assignment, put that take home assignment on GitHub. If they ask you not to, you can say, well, I want to be able to talk about this project. And if you're giving this out to other people anyway, then why does it have to be private? You can ask them. You don't want to be confrontational about it. There's a difference between asking and being confrontational. But you could say like, hey, I want to be able to like show this work. Like if I'm going to spend a couple of days on this project for you, I want to be able to show that to other people. So you can ask if you can put it on GitHub, or you can just put it on GitHub. And if they ask you to take it off, then just make it private. I wouldn't get rid of it completely. I would just make it private. What about putting your real name on GitHub? I don't think that'll really matter one way or the other, but it does. Like when you go to my GitHub, you see the same profile picture, you see the same name, and so they're like, okay, yeah, this is Ian. But if I had a completely, different username on GitHub and a completely different picture, how do they know that that's really me? Like I might give them RC Maniac's GitHub profile. They don't know. Maybe, maybe I convinced them that I'm really into remote control cars or something like that. And that's my GitHub account. They don't know. They have no way of really verifying that. So putting something that's similar on there, it's generally why I tell people like your LinkedIn, your GitHub, like your Twitter, anything like that, put the same profile picture on there if you're applying for a job. Once you get the job, you can change the pictures to whatever you want. But while you're applying for a job, people need to see that consistency and go, okay, well, the name is different, but at least the picture is the same. So I guess this is their username on GitHub. So, name consistency. Yeah, I try to use Ian Douglas 736 everywhere or just Ian Douglas. If I'm new enough, like if it's a brand new platform that's launching, I'll try to grab Ian Douglas. But if Ian Douglas is already taken because there's a bunch of other Ian Douglases out there who are devs, then I'll go for the 736. And if that's taken, then I come up with something else completely. And it's just the way it is. All right, back to preparing food. Make something tasty. In high school, people said use your real name. Now people know everybody as a username, which is true. But HR people don't know that. And if they're trying to look things up about you, then they need to be able to find that information. Again, if they have to go look for that information or they have reason to not trust that information, you're a lot less likely to get a call to get into an interview. So the more that consistency you can show them early on, the better. Mac and cheese. Mac and cheese is great. I like mixing a little hot sauce in with my mac and cheese. Let's see, what else did I miss? Icy black tea. I'm actually doing work at work. I'm actually doing work at work. I promise. Imagine that. Let me take a look at something else here. RC Maniac was responding to it of Alan. Do commits into open source documentation count? Yes, but like I agree with what RC Maniac said. If you're applying for a dev role, they're gonna look at that and go, you fixed some grammar and you added some clarity or something to the docs that's not as adjacent to like a development type of role. It's still a contribution to open source either way. So I think you can still list it. But like going back to Madeline's resume, for example, where Madeline was showing some community work, that would be a great place to say I've contributed to documentation for user experience, because it shows like I'm helping the community by improving documentation. If you're applying for a developer job, it doesn't look as impressive, but you're still contributing. And some devs are going to look at that and go, "Yay, you made the documentation like way better." Like I contributed to some open source maybe a year ago, where I went through and I like wrote out a whole new chunk of documentation because the user experience of reading the docs that they had was a little janky, and they needed some extra examples. So I went in and I wrote some little code examples and I submitted it and they accepted it. And I helped make that documentation better by showing code examples of how to do things using their library. And so depending on what you're contributing to the documentation, I think can matter. It's Wood. Good to see you in chat here. Is there something you could recommend doing to calm my anxiety? I'm trying to get my first job with no previous experience. My nerves are killing me, thinking I'm not good enough to do this. That's imposter syndrome. I faced that myself, and I've been doing this for a long time. Coming up on 27 years in April that I've been in the industry, and I still deal with imposter syndrome. What I would say is this: if they are interviewing you, they already think that you can maybe do the job. So they already have some amount of faith that you can get through this. So if intrinsically you can't say, I'm good enough for this, just know that by getting the interview, they already think you're good enough for this. You still have to get through the interview, but knowing that they already kind of believe in you maybe could help. As far as the actual anxiety of the interview itself, the best way to get around that is the practice of actually doing interviews. It's not a fantastic answer, but by practicing more interviews, you're going to get a lot of that anxiety out there. You're going to make your mistakes and things like that. That's why practicing mock interviews can be really beneficial. It feels like a real interview, but there's no job on the line. And you're still going to get all those nerves kind of out of your system. And you're going to learn about what you do well and what you don't do well. And it's going to help you hone in on, I need to improve this aspect or that aspect of how I actually conduct myself in an interview. Especially with the mock interviewer, can give you good feedback and good advice on how to improve. If you just do another mock interview with somebody at the same skill level, they'll be able to give you some actionable advice, but it won't be the same level of advice as if you can do a mock interview with somebody who's been in the industry for a while, like an intermediate dev or a senior level dev. Like find somebody in your network and say, hey, I really need to practice a mock interview. Like, do you have time to practice a mock interview? And then ask them for honest feedback. Like, what did I do really well? What can I improve? How can I continue to like develop this? Like, what can I do a little bit better? And sometimes the feedback they're going to give you is going to hurt your feelings a little bit. It's not meant to hurt your feelings, but sometimes that's how you're going to feel based on the feedback that they give you of like, oh, your behavioral answers were great, but your technical answers were a little shaky and your coding was not good. It's like, well, shoot, I'm trying to get a developer job and you're telling me my code's not good. So the only way to do that is to keep practicing. But by getting that honest feedback from people, that's the best way that you're going to improve. Just grinding on leak code, yeah, you'll get really good at leak code, but that's still not going to help you actually go do an interview. You're still going to have to actually sit down and practice an interview with somebody else. And so I think, there are different platforms out there. I'm trying to think of one. It starts with a P, Pramp. Pramp.com, Pramp.com is a place that you can go practice mock interviews. I think it's still free. I used to have a referral code that gave you like unlimited interviews, but I don't know whether that still works or not. But practicing those mock interviews is going to make a big, big difference. Excuse me. It's been a long day. I've been busy hauling furniture around. We have a Discord community. You can go check that out. You can also ask people in the Discord community, like, is anybody available for a mock interview? Folks that hang out there, they might have a couple of minutes, maybe a half hour, maybe 45 minutes, give you a quick little technical challenge or ask you some technical questions or maybe ask you some behavioral questions and then give you some feedback on that. It doesn't have to be a really long conversation, but you could just say like, hey, can you help me practice how I answer a couple of behavioral questions? You can maybe even give them the behavioral questions ahead of time, or just say like, hey, can you go to this website that has a whole bunch of behavioral questions and just pick one or two and like hit me with them, how, and then sort of evaluate, how did I do answering that question? Did it actually answer the question? Was it too vague in some areas? Did I go on and on and on and on and on and I should have shut up 10 minutes ago? Those are things that you want, that really good feedback from somebody who's been in an interview, that's done interviews, that can give you good evaluation. Because again, like mock interviewing with a peer, they'll be able to give you some help, but it won't be the same as someone who's been in the industry a long time. All right, Ken Wife came back. As a technical writer, a good pointer here with any documentation, make sure that what you're writing out is clear, concise, and well structured. Poor writing would be a drawback. Yep, I agree. And if you're doing things with like code samples, like write out a code sample of like, this is what you would write as your code. This is what you can expect to get back. And so when they write that code, if it doesn't match what it gets back, then they know there's something, incorrect in there. So yeah, you gotta be friendly with it for sure. Just so people have a good expectation of how to use your software. So. Excuse me. Carmen's saying, network, make friends. You will see that most, probably not all of us, feel the same way at certain points. I agree. Again, I deal with imposter syndrome all the time. Twisted Mood was in earlier, was talking about like, yeah, I feel like I'm not good enough to do this stuff. It's like, yeah, that's all imposter syndrome. I haven't found a good way to get over imposter syndrome, aside from just going and doing the thing and knowing that I'm going to get incrementally better. I'm not suddenly going to be amazing at something, but I'm going to get a little bit better at it every time I try. Am I great at painting? No, but I'm going to get a little bit better at painting every time I sit down and paint. I watch YouTube videos on how to paint things, on how to shade things, on how to, do weathering and aging and things like that. It all comes with practice. I bought a little airbrush kit. It's here somewhere. All my stuff got completely shoved around and moved around in here. I've got a tiny little airbrush kit that I'm looking forward to digging into and like doing some airbrushing. I've never airbrushed before. I have no idea how to even hold the thing, but I'm looking forward to learning. And it's going to be awful for the first month, 2 months, maybe. It's going to be great. I'm going to have fun in the process of learning because I enjoy learning. So yeah, I think just the process of doing the thing is going to make you not completely like worry free and anxiety free, but I think it's going to help get the nerves out a little bit, to where when you do go for a real interview, you'll remember like, oh yeah, when I did all those mistakes before, like I'm not going to do those this time. You're going to make new mistakes. Every interview you're going to walk away going, oh, I wish I'd done that part a little bit better. But that's how you're going to get better. You're only going to get better by doing it. Weirdly enough, it feels better knowing that people with lots of experience have similar feelings. Yep. Yeah. I mean, I did a job hunt a year ago. It was actually right around a year ago that I was like finalizing all my offers, and I decided that I was going to go work at Postman. Um, but well, actually started interviewing the previous November, like late October, early November. Thought one of those jobs was going to work out. I was interviewing at 3 different companies. Thought one of them was going to work out. None of them worked out. And so then I kind of took most of December off, kind of, continued networking, continued reaching out to recruiters and so on. And then once January hit, I was all in on interview, interview, interview. That was my full time job, just to get interviews. I interviewed at 30 companies. I got 6 offers. Um, and it really came down to, who do I know at that company? How can I provide value to that company? How do I talk about that in the interview? And then during the interview, I'm writing out tons of notes on, this person's talking about this thing and they're talking about that thing. How can I bring that back into the conversation with the next person about how I can bring value to that thing that this other person talked about? And so I kind of compounded the conversations. And so the next conversation I had at that company went even better. And the next conversation with that company went even better. Some of the companies I walked away from because I didn't like the structure that I saw as far as the engineering team and the engineering departments and organizational things and whatever. So I walked away from several. Um, but in the end, I interviewed in earnest with about 12 to 15 companies. And of those, I got 6 offers. Now, how much of that was because I already had a ton of experience? A lot of it had to play into that. I'm not going to lie. But we've also had people on the stream where, they did a bunch of interviews. They also got a bunch of offers. So it's possible, even being new in the industry, you can interview with a bunch of companies and really understand, how do I best communicate the value that I bring to your company, even being brand new. You still bring a lot of brand new perspective, a lot of brand new energy. You're bringing a whole brand new background that's completely different from anybody else on their team. And all of that plays into how you're going to be a better developer. So even like for folks that are going through programs like 100 Devs, you're coming from a background that's maybe not technical, not development of any kind. How can that, like, reflecting back on that, how does that make you a better developer? And how can you sort of spin that? Like, oh yeah, I worked in restaurant industry for 5 years and I decided I wanted to try my hand at technology. Turns out I'm a pretty good coder, and working on different kinds of teams and the interaction, especially on the communication side of it, is making me a better developer because I understand how to talk between front end teams and back end teams and high pressure situations and taking care of the end user that we're delivering something for. So learning how to take that background and experience that you do have and how that relates to development and how that's making you a better developer is how you're going to sort of sell them on, this is the contribution that I'm going to make. Carmen says the feeling will never go away. You just learn to recognize it and find ways to be comfortable being uncomfortable. That's a good way of putting it, for sure. There's so much out there to learn. Stuff is constantly changing. Yeah, you're never going to know all the things. When you sign up for a job in tech, you're signing up for lifelong learning. If you ever stop learning, you immediately start like downgrading your skills. You have to constantly keep learning and constantly keep doing things. RC Maniac says he got laid off right before the pandemic, lockdowns, and so on. I started out calm, but got more and more panicked because everybody had hiring freezes. Companies don't give feedback on why you didn't get through the interview. So I got some feedback from one, practiced in that area, made further progress, eventually got 3 job offers. Yep. 14 months of interviewing. That's a lot, for sure. The physical feeling of being nervous and of being excited is basically the same. When you catch yourself thinking, I'm nervous, you can say to yourself, no, I'm excited. It works surprisingly well with some practice. That's great. Thanks for the tip there. Yeah, that's good. That's good. I think like others have said, like just recognizing that it's happening can sometimes be enough to kind of like get yourself out of that. I've had interviews where I just end up in this downward spiral where I get caught up in my thoughts and caught up in my head. and I just end up in this downward spiral, and things just got worse and worse and worse and worse. And I'm like, I'm just gonna like leave the interview now. And sometimes that's gonna happen, you know. But again, the more you practice interviewing, the easier you're going to find it to do real interviews. It's not going to be a perfect process. Nobody interviews perfectly. Even people like me that coach people on how to interview, and even coach companies on how to conduct interviews, we still get it wrong. I still make mistakes when I'm interviewing, you know, but it's part of the learning process of this whole feedback loop of I'm going to try a thing, I'm going to get some feedback, even if that feedback is just from me, and figure out how can I make that a little bit better next time. The next time I'm going to get a little bit better, and I'm going to try a thing, I'm going to try some feedback, and maybe I'll try something a little different next time. It's all part of this like gradual learning, gradual growth kind of thing. You're not just immediately going to get better at interviewing, but you will find with a little bit of practice, you're going to see some pretty significant growth. Panic and imposter syndrome is tough. Yeah. Yeah. Saying I don't know, it's a sign you hit the floor and you can only go up from there. It's a good way of thinking about it too. Yeah. Yep. Lots of good thoughts. See, this is why I love like community. This is why I love like everybody sharing their thoughts and stuff. It makes us all better, right? My whole catchphrase for this stream is like share what you know and we all win. And this is exactly what's happening in chat right now. This is what gets me fired up and why I love live streaming, like bringing people together to share their thoughts and share their ideas. This is what's making us all slightly incrementally better over time. So yeah, thank you so much everybody for sharing your thoughts. Cool. Let me go double check and see if any other resumes come in. Otherwise, we will see what else is going on. That's not the right browser. It's this one. Nope, no other resumes. And also know too that once you send in a resume, I delete all that data. So once I do the review, I delete everything that you sent me. Yep. Okay. So Madeline, we did your review. So I'm deleting your data. So I don't have that content anymore. Cool. What else we got? I'm a huge fan of playing with the language we use for self talks. One that I like is instead of saying I don't know, saying I don't know yet. Yeah, yet is a pretty powerful word for sure. I can't do that yet. I don't know that yet. I'm always just unsure which job to apply to and which not to. Ooh, that's a good question. By the way, tell me how you want me to pronounce your username. Um, let Thalnus or something. I don't know. Not sure how you want me to pronounce that. Um, to figure out. So one exercise I used to do. So I was a software instructor for a while, number of years. And one question that I used to ask my students when they're like, I don't know what I want to do. I don't know what kind of job I want. Oh, lethal, awesome. Okay. Um, is ask yourself, why did I get into programming? What did I envision myself doing when I decided I wanted to learn software development? What did I picture myself doing? Was I sitting in a cubicle? Was I doing freelance work? Was I working on web pages? Was I building mobile apps? Was I writing a game? What was I doing that got me into tech? Or that started leading me down this path of becoming a programmer? Aporto, thanks for the follow. Um, the other exercise that I would do with them is say, okay, well, if you didn't have anything in mind other than tech is great salary and I need to make more money, and so I'm going to go get a technology job to make more money. That's fine. That can be a good motivator too. Um, and so the second part of that exercise I would do with students and people that I mentor is I would ask them straight up, okay, you got bills to pay. You got maybe rent, maybe a mortgage, maybe a car payment, insurance, bills, whatever. If I paid all of your bills for a year and told you all you had to do was write software, I'm going to take care of groceries, I'm going to take care of all your living expenses, I'm going to take care of anything financially that you need. You're just going to spend your day writing software. What would you be doing? And if you can make a list of like two or three different kinds of things of like oh, you know what? I'd really like to make an e-commerce site that does this or that, or I'd really like to build a site that helps people with, finding people to take care of their pets for pet sitting if they want to go on vacation or something like. What would you be building? The more specific you can make it, the better. But what do you envision yourself doing if someone else could just wave a magic wand and all your bills went away? What would you build? Now go find companies that do that and start networking with that company and say, I'm a developer. This is a passion that I have. This is a background that I have. This is why your company caught my eye. I'd like to apply for a job there. This is my background and skill. Like, start networking with that company. If they don't interview you and they don't hire you, guess what? They've got competition. Go find out who their competition is. Go hit up all their competition. Say, hey, you know what? I'm investigating this whole side of the industry. I used to use SendGrid as the example because when I first started mentoring at the school where I ended up teaching, I was working at SendGrid and said, okay, let's say that email is really exciting to you and you want to go apply for a job at SendGrid, and SendGrid doesn't even bother interviewing you, or they interview you and you don't pass the interview. SendGrid's got tons of competition. Maybe you build the SendGrid software into a project of yours. Well, now you can turn around, you can rip SendGrid out of that project and go put in MailChimp and go apply for a job with MailChimp. Or go build it in a way that's modular where you can say, I want to send an email using MailChimp or SendGrid or Mailgun or like all these other like email platforms, so that the user can actually fill out a form and say, I want to send this using this technology, and then boom, they get that email. They can verify that it actually went through that platform. Now you can go apply at all of their competition and say, I've been investigating the whole email thing. I've built this stuff into this project. I can tie in all these different APIs for like backup and failover redundancies and whatever. And, um, your company really caught my eye. I'd like to apply for a job there, right? You don't have to say, oh yeah, I applied for the job at SendGrid and I didn't get it. Don't tell them that, because then that's going to sort of already kind of bias them against you. But if you just say like, hey, been working on this project. I started with SendGrid and then I went on to your company and I switched it out, and I was really impressed with how easy it was to change the API over to your company's API. And it was impressive so much. I really like what the team's doing. I want to come be a part of that. Two things are happening here. One is you're letting them know that you're doing research on the industry at large and their company, but you're also showing them, sorry, what was the second thing I was going to say? You're showing them that you have targeted them specifically, not just the industry at large, but them specifically. That makes a big difference. And you're showing them that you can integrate their software, right? And so they can go in, they can look at your GitHub repo, they can see the commits, where you did all those changes. Make sure you're hiding your API keys and so on if you're going to do that kind of thing. But sorry, the second thing, that wasn't the second thing. That was all part of the first thing. The second thing is it changes the introduction from, hi, I'm Ian, I'm a developer, and this kind of thing interests me, and so I built this into the project. You could actually change that whole introduction to say, hi, I'm Ian, I'm a developer. I'm actually a user of your software. I've been using your software now for about a week, and wow, this stuff knocked my socks off. I'm really impressed with this. I want to come be a part of the team. I've been using this for a little while. I want to come work at the company. Carmen, thanks for dropping by. It changes the introduction from, I'm just a rando person that has tech skills, to, I'm actually a user of your software and I've been using this on a project or two or three. It makes a big, big difference on that introduction. So that would be another way to think about it. If you can implement someone else's library or API or something like that in a project, build it into more than one project, but then that introduction shifts from, I'm, so-and-so, I just finished 100 devs, I built your thing into a project, and, now I'm applying for a job there, to, hey, you know what, I've started out building your API or your library into this project. I liked it so much I continue using it in this other project and a third project. I like it so much I want to come be a part of this. It changes everything a lot, a lot, a lot. Carmen, reach out towards the end of the week if you can. Touch base with me and let me know how your week went with the whole conversation with work and stuff like that. So RC Maniac is saying in chat, kind of going back to Lethal's question. When I was applying, I started with companies that I wanted to work for. Then I went to the ones that I knew. Then I went to the ones that I pay for. Then I went to the ones that I use their app, but I don't necessarily pay for. Then I went to where my friends worked. So like RC Maniac had a very thorough process for sure. Um, but I would probably start with where my friends work and say, hey, do you have a referral program? Because there might be money on the line. If they make a referral and you get through that interview and you get hired, your friend gets money. So they're very highly incentivized to, submit your resume. Um, but then you can also talk to your friend about like, what should I be talking about in the interview? What should I be practicing? What can I be working on? Makes a big difference for sure. Juggling says, I like their features, what they provide. I haven't used. I like this more than the competitor company. Yeah. But don't just say I like it better than the competitor. Talk about what you like, be more specific. What was it about it? Like, wow, your documentation was so much better. Or wow, your API took like 3 minutes to implement. Theirs took like half an hour. Like your API is so much better. Your documentation is so much better. Your getting started guide was really easy to understand. Like that was impressive. And once I got using that a little bit more, I decided to implement it in a couple of other projects. And, it changes that introduction completely from just, I'm a developer. I know about how to use an API. It changes quite a lot. My friends fight over who gets the referral. Yeah, it's great. Cool. Well, I got to start wrapping up. I got about 10 minutes, and then I got to wrap up. I got to do a mock interview. Um, and then, by the way, I have a platform called Meet a Pro. If you search for the word FANG on there, FAANG, you'll probably find my mock interviews. Um, I do charge money for those, but that money goes back into the Diversity in Tech fundraiser. So just know that by contributing to that, you're contributing to this fundraiser that we're raising money for right now. It's not going into my pocket. I don't keep any of that money. In fact, the money that you pay, I also match. So if it's $50 for a mock interview, I put another $50 in there. That $100 goes towards our fundraiser. So just know that that's in the works. But if you go to meetapro.com, I've got resume review links on there, and I've got 3 different mock interviews for junior, intermediate, and senior level devs. If you want to use those, I don't have a referral code yet. I've asked them to implement something where somebody can go to just like a page with my username and see all of the things that I offer. Because right now you have to go in, you have to know exactly what to search for in order to find my things. So they're working on that as a product feature, but I have no idea when they're going to build it. Um, but if you're curious about doing a mock interview, just know that if you do a mock interview with me, any money that you pay me goes back into the Diversity in Tech fundraiser. So doesn't stay in my pocket. Sweet. Well, let's go have a look at who else is online so we can start getting an idea of who to go raid. If there's anybody out there to raid. Ali's still in Japan. Ali's still in Japan. Being irrationally mad at the Facebook API. Oh, that's not irrational. API backslash is online. Looks like doing some Web3 stuff. Oh, Coding with Strangers is on. Oh, they're doing Blender. Okay, who else is on? People, lots of people building stuff. Mellow Cola, thanks for dropping by. You didn't get here too late, so I'm still streaming for about another 10 minutes or so. If you've got interview questions or career prep questions, you want a quick resume review, that's fine. I do have to do a mock interview in about 20 minutes. So I do need to plan a raid target at some point. But whoa, dude, thanks for coming by. How often do I stream? So I typically, hey Zapper, I typically stream Sunday mornings, not Sunday night. But just today was kind of a whirlwind. I also stream Thursday nights, but Thursday nights I'm usually like tinkering on something in here. But I always tell people whenever I stream, you are absolutely welcome to interrupt and ask me questions about interview prep and career prep. I'll usually have the tech interview guide sign on here. I don't know if I'll be doing it this week, but I do occasionally stream work, like co-working stuff. And so if you see me streaming and you log in and you see Postman, like the company Postman, if you see their logo back here on the TV, it means I'm actually co-working. You can still ask me interview stuff. I don't mind a bit. So yeah, absolutely drop by. I'm probably going to occasionally stream Tuesday nights if I'm not doing mock interviews. I'll be doing Tuesday nights as well. Tuesdays and Thursdays, I'll be doing more programming and like, the little like pew pew thing with the Lego kit behind me, or other like 3D printing stuff. I do tons of 3D printing and painting of models and stuff like that. And so Tuesdays and Thursdays is going to be more variety stuff, where Sunday is meant to be like, let's kickstart your job hunt for the week. Let's get the resume reviews done. Let's talk about cover letters. Let's do some company research. That's going to be more the Sunday stream. Again, typically it would be in the morning. I used to do it in the evening, but people in Europe actually started hitting me up and saying like, "Hey, I can't get to your stream. Like, I just can't stay up that late." And so I started doing Sunday mornings. So, starting next week, I'll be back on the Sunday morning track. Just today, I did it in the evening because I was busy this morning instead. But yeah, absolutely come by. Ask questions all the time. You can also reach out to me on the socials. I use the same username on Twitch that I use on Twitter and LinkedIn. If you want to connect with me there, you can always send me private messages on those platforms. Send me a DM. If you've got questions, I'll do my best to answer them there. I may bring your question over to an anonymous questions channel on our Discord community if you want to come check out Discord. That button's here somewhere. You can come join our Discord community if you like. There's an anonymous questions channel in there where I occasionally draw questions from. So if it's kind of a quiet night and there's not a lot of people in chat, I'll start pulling those anonymous questions in. And I usually record those and put them up on YouTube. And I've got playlists on YouTube you can go check out. I got tons of videos up on YouTube. And they're all just little like 5-minute, 10-minute videos on, somebody came by chat, asked a question, here's my answer. And it's just my perspectives having been in the industry for a really long time. So yeah, you can totally come by anytime, ask questions on any of the platforms. If you see me online, even if you see me hanging out in someone else's chat on Twitch, send me a DM, send me a whisper on Twitch or whatever, and ask questions. I'm more than happy to help out, even if I'm like nerding out on someone else's stream. And then the last thing I'll mention again, just because I'm like really close, I'm like 45 followers away from 1,000 on YouTube. If you can subscribe to my stuff over on YouTube, when I get to 1,000, we're doing a giveaway. So I'm going to be giving away this really cool 3D printed box that I made. It's a treasure chest. The person that made it actually made it as a something to hold like D&D dice. And so their picture has actually got like a ton of D&D dice in there. I've got my own idea for what I'm going to put in the box, but when we give it away, this box won't be empty. Just saying, the box won't be empty when I give it away. But I'm gonna give that away once we hit 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. And then the whole month of April is going to be like every time I stream in April, I'll be doing a giveaway of some kind. And those are usually going to be like small little like 3D printed, figurines or, something that I've designed or something. I don't know. We'll figure that out, as we get closer to April. And then I'll probably do one usually like midsummer, and then I'll do one probably going to target October again, just so that shipping will get out in time for holidays and stuff like that. So I'll probably do three like recurring giveaways, but then we're gonna have milestones as well. We'll be doing like big giveaways, like when we hit this $1,000 goal for Unloop. It's set at 2,000, but the first 1,000 is you guys. Well, all of you, not just the guys, all of you. And then I'm gonna match that 1,000. That'll get us to 2,000, and then we're gonna move on to the next one. When we hit that goal, we'll do another big giveaway. Okay, so lots of giveaways on the stream. That's my plan for 2023. Any money that you contribute, bits, subs, any donations that come in, I match all of that. Okay, I don't keep any money as a streamer. You can do exclamation point money. It'll take you to a web page over on Tech Interview Guide where I outline like, here's all the money I make as a streamer. This is how I make money as a streamer. Last year we gave away like $6,200 to other charitable organizations that increase diversity in tech. Something that's really important to me. Something that's really like close to my heart. And something that I'm just going to constantly raise money for. So Unloop is helping people who have been incarcerated get out and get jobs in tech. Because diversity is more than just the color of your skin and your ethnic background and things like that. It's also about just your way of life and your background and the experiences that you've had in life, and giving everybody a chance to get a job in tech. And so the first $1,000 we raise is going to be for Unloop. I'm going to match that $1,000. So yeah, so that's the plan. And when we hit that goal, we'll do a giveaway. We've got another one queued up right after that. When we hit that goal, we'll do another giveaway. I'll get another one queued up. So we're just going to keep raising money to help people get into tech. And it's always going to be to charitable organizations. I go through and I scrutinize their tax info and all that stuff to make sure that the money they raise is actually going to like the mission of what they're trying to do. That I've looked at so many where it's like we raised $500,000 last year and we paid like $450,000 of that into the salaries of the people that actually run the program. And so of that $500,000, they gave away $50,000. It's like you only gave away 10% of that money. It's like, yeah, I get it. Like if you're doing that as a full-time job, you need compensation. But if all of that money is going to compensation, then not very much is actually going to what you want that mission to be doing. And so I go through and I look at the whole background of the business and things like that. So the people that you see me promote are people that I've actually vetted. Like Twitch has something like 90,000 charities on here. And I went through probably 3 or 4 dozen tech and diversity types of charitable organizations, and there are very very few that sort of passed my sniff test on is this going to be a good company to donate money to. So I've got a bunch of them that will queue up as we finish one. It'll queue over to the next one and so on. But yeah, let's do that. So subscribe on YouTube if you can. We'll do that giveaway when I hit 1,000. So let other people know if you're part of other Discord communities. Let other people know. I've like all of my content is free. I give everything away for free. The only thing I charge money for are resume reviews and mock interviews, but that money all goes back into the diversity and tech fundraiser anyway. And so you can drop by, ask questions anytime. Other than that, I need to go prep for this mock interview that I got to do and get my environment all set up for that. So let's go find somebody to raid. Oh, looks like Ali just hopped offline. I was going to raid into Ali's channel. And let's see, who should we raid into? If you have suggestions of who we can go raid into, if you can drop those in chat, that would be big. Oh, Ada Valent actually just went live. So we'll go raid over there. Cool. We'll catch you over on Alan's stream. Let me go set that up. He did flag as being for mature audiences. I like to keep mine family friendly, but we're gonna go right over there. Whip, thanks for dropping by. Thank you so much, everybody, for chatting again. Sorry the stream was so late today. Next Sunday it will be back in the morning time. If you're in North America, it'll be in the morning. But yeah, I always put my full sessions up on YouTube after the fact. So if you ever miss one, you want to go back and look at the resume reviews and things like that. All of that stuff's going to be up on YouTube. You'll be able to check that out within 24 hours. Otherwise, have a good night, everybody. We'll catch you over on Alan's stream. I'll hang out there for just a couple of minutes, but then I got to go do that mock interview. So we'll catch you next time. And I'll probably stream Tuesday as well as Thursday. Definitely Thursday, but I'll probably stream Tuesday night too. I don't have anything else going on Tuesday. So I'll probably stream Tuesday as well. So have a good night, everyone. We'll catch you on the next one. And so there is